Hello, I thought I'd try that transition out just to see if it would make things slightly less awful for getting started, because usually there's sort of some awkward periods there. But yeah, just hello and welcome to Runkle of the Bailey. Today there's a whole lot of things to talk about, and it doesn't look like the transition rolled at all, did it? All right. All right. So today I just want to talk about, we'll start off with, well, a whole lot of things. I was going to talk initially about the follow up to the whole Amber Heard filing there, because I did say when I was talking about it before that she'd need to bring some evidence. So I guess props on trying for that, but I really think that there's some issues on that. And hello, folks. Can you hear me? I see people saying turn my mic on, but I think the mic is on. I can hear me. So. And somebody's saying, have I seen the video of the kids in diapers attacking the police? I have not, but send that my way because that'd be awesome. Oh, and hey, I see we got uncivil in the chat. That is good stuff. So yeah, so I guess just to backtrack, I talked a little bit before on the motion to set aside the verdict, and in that motion, there's a whole lot of different things that Amber alleges. She suggests a whole bunch of different things. And man, I'm fuzzy. Let me see if I can unfuzzy myself here. But one of them, and perhaps the wildest of those, is she alleges that one of the jurors was not a juror, or at least not properly a juror. And so that's kind of a wild little moment in life. Yeah, my focus on my camera is way off. Let's see if that fixes things. All right, so let me know if this is hopefully a little less awful in terms of the video. So basically, she has then filed a follow-up where she then says she basically tries to provide some reasons for this. So let's have a look at that. Let's go through it, because some of the stuff in there I think is actually fairly wild. And actually, I think she scores some goals, but on herself. Not usually the direction you want to go. And that's about as sportsy as my metaphors are going to get. But let's have a look here. All right. So yeah, just got to share the screen. Sorry, I'm still figuring all this out here. This one. There we go. All right. So supplemental memorandum in support of Section 7 of defendant and counterclaim plaintiffs Amber Heard's post-trial motions based on additional discovered facts. So this is a follow-up. Basically, they're now saying that they have to do some initial research, or they've done some additional research. So they say defendant and counterclaim plaintiff Amber Laura Heard, Ms. Heard, hereby supplements Section 7 of her post-trial motion based on newly discovered facts and information that juror number 15 was not the individual summoned for jury duty on April 11th, 2022, and therefore was not part of the jury panel and could not have properly served on the jury at this trial. Therefore, a mistrial should be declared and a new trial ordered. So this is kind of interesting because, yeah, sure, I can do that. Done. Be on good behavior on civil. So basically, it looks like she's kind of walking back her requests, because if you looked at the initial motion to set aside, the initial motion to set aside actually asked for a directed verdict of basically that she should win. Now, it might be that she thinks that she only gets a mistrial on this issue, and she thinks that she should get a directed verdict of essentially that there's no further trial, that Amber wins on the other stuff. But yeah. And somebody's saying, did I get into this topic for the algorithm or because I actually find it interesting? I think this one is really interesting. I was actually thinking I'd give this a miss until I read it. And then I went and saw some interesting things here that I really want to kind of point at. So, and somebody's saying, have I seen the insurance policies that have spoke out? Yes, I have those, and we can talk about those too. So They say Virginia law provides that only those jurors whose names appear in the list provided for under 801-348 and 801-351 shall be used for the trial of cases. And this is the Virginia Code, which has a whole lot of rules on how you actually can set up a jury, right? And that makes sense. Everywhere's got rules about how a jury is set up, including, here in Canada. We've got all these rules about, who can be on a jury, what the procedure is for selecting them, how that's done. So, yep. And I see somebody says, Runkle just lost a sub. Oh, well, bye. I'm not too worried necessarily about, about that, because at the end of the day, people who like my content will subscribe. People who don't like it will leave. And I end up with a community of people who like my content. So this is not a thing to threaten me with. So yeah. So they note every year citizens' names are randomly selected by the Virginia Supreme Court for the list of registered voters for the Fairfax area. So basically, there's a group of people who have selected things. And I see hello from a South Dakota family law lawyer. Well, thank you very much. And so now they get really specific. And this is a place where I'm going to have some comments as we go about what they've done here. And this is one of those places where I got some commentary, because I think that they may have done some stuff they shouldn't have here. So they say in this case, the jury panel list included an individual named blank. And I assume that they probably filed two versions. They probably filed a like an unredacted version, as well as filing a redacted version, and the redacted version being the one that was sort of made public. So with a listed date of birth of blank 1945, residing in blank Virginia. So what they're trying to do is trying to prevent people from being able to figure out who this is. But I don't think that's going to be super effective, and I'll talk about that. So they say this means the individual would have been 77 years old at the time of trial. The attached voter registration information lists two individuals with the last name blank, residing in blank, Virginia, date of birth 1945, and the second person, date of birth 1970. Both of these individuals apparently live at the same address, and the individual who appeared for jury duty with this name was obviously the younger one. Thus, the 52-year-old sitting on the jury for 6 weeks was never summoned for jury duty on April 11th and did not appear in the list as required under Virginia Code 801-355. So thank you very much for the super chat here. And I don't know why anyone would post that they're leaving. You're super fair with your opinions and great at explaining law. Well, thank you very much. This one is really kind of interesting what they did here, because I would have redacted pretty much this entire block. There are publicly available databases. You can buy, purchase advertising lists and so forth for various places. These are available out there, and you can go and you can go and pick those up if you wanted to spend the money. Some of them, of course, are only going to be for sale to companies, but it's not that hard. People have been able to pick these up over time, and then you can just plug that into some sort of plug that into a database and start doing some searching on that. And the the searching on that I don't think that there's going to be that many people who have somebody who's born in 1945, somebody who was born in 1970, residing at the same address with the same last name. This might take it down to a list of 2 people, or maybe it takes it down to a list of 10 people. But with 10 people, you could narrow that list real fast. I think they probably went too far, and I think that they I think that they may have accidentally doxed the jury here. That's I think that this is seriously a bit too far. And somebody says, in my opinion, they did this on purpose. They could get time for Amber Turd to get her cash together so that they can get paid. trying to throw everything at the wall to see if anything sticks, but are screwing it up royally. I mean, they're making the arguments they can because that's all they've got. So that's really all they're doing here. They think that this is going to maybe be an issue, but I think that more than this, I think that they think that this is a PR issue. And I've already seen sort of the Twitter people going, "Oh, well, this is out there, you know, this means that the whole trial was illegitimate." And Vintage Willow with the super chat that gets to what I was about to say next. They were the ones who wanted the jury info sealed in the first place. Yes, this is potentially going to be hilarious because if Judge A agrees the way feels the way I feel about the amount of information they put out here and the fact that they may well have inadvertently revealed the juror, like, enough information to figure out the juror's identity, then they are in breach of the order that they asked the court for. And so it might be hilarious if they end up eating an entire, if they end up eating sanctions for violating the order that they themselves requested. This is, if you're talking about own goals, this is not just like we scored on ourselves. It's we scored on ourselves on goalposts we built. So, yeah, when they say Amber Heard's team is doxing everyone, Tug, Popcorn Planet, I don't think they care. Hey, my name is Ian Runkle. Dox me. Come on. Yeah, it's I'm not that hard to track down. But I see somebody saying, Runkle, I think you're the only one that I've heard actually talk about that. Question, would it make a difference if the juror came out and publicly talked about his side of the story? I mean, there's even the juror who has, who has come out and, spoken, they did so and kept their name quiet, right? They didn't, reveal that information. And in fact, if you read that article, and if you watch that content, they're very careful to not reveal anything about that juror. So, yeah. Somebody says, oddly enough, they're not attacking attorneys on YouTube. I mean, they do talk some crap about us. And there is that wonderful Reddit thread that says I'm alt-right and calls Hogue an incel, which he's married and has kids. So that's not really what an incel is. I don't know. Anyway, carrying on here. They say, as the court no doubt agrees, it is deeply troubling for an individual not summoned for jury duty, nonetheless, to appear for jury duty and serve on a jury, especially in a case such as this. Yeah, there's going to be some troubling things here. And they point out that it's high profile and where the fact and date of the jury trial were highly publicized prior to and after the issuance of the juror summons. Okay, fair enough. They say Virginia has in place statutory code provisions. So they're going to talk about that, but they kind of leave out some of the key ones. But they mention that there is there's a requirement to log in with a 7-digit juror number, zip code, and birth date. And I don't know why they both put it in quotation marks and bold it. Like, is this a quote or is this emphasis or is this both? Pick a lane. That's just bad formatting. But anyway. Now, they say these safeguards are in place and relied upon by the parties to verify the identity of the correct juror to ensure due process and a fair trial for all litigants. Now, we will get to some of the case law on this, or some of the legislation on this, because they're actually required to do some additional follow-up on that. So, all right, I see. Pick a lane, Elaine. Somebody who's asking, what's an incel? That is a complicated topic that we're not getting into right today. So, all right. So they note Ms. Heard had a right to rely on the basic protection as prescribed by Virginia Code. I mean, it's a decent argument to say that, but I think that that's actually undermined substantially by what we'll see in the legislation here. So they're saying a mistrial should be declared and a new trial ordered because they think it's the wrong person. I'm just looking here. This is the bit that I wanted, or one bit that I wanted to bring out here. Now, I haven't been able to get the argument from the Depp side. And part of the reason is because that the DEP side they're no longer publishing all the things that come in online. Now they have to be obtained from the clerk's office. So it's Sunday. It makes it real hard to go in and try to ask for anything. And I'm a long way away. So, and I see happy to see me live at a decent Australian time. Well, I try to sort of mix it up for that reason. And I see, isn't jury summons creating a pool of peeps who can serve, right age, etc., which was done, and then the opportunity to vet them for bias, which was done. Yeah, well, there's a process that all of that involves, and we'll look into that a little bit here. But this bit I wanted to sort of mention. They say, Mr. Depp would be incorrect in contending Ms. Heard somehow waived this argument by not raising it during voir dire. Not only were the voir dire questions ruled on in advance and the parties limited to those questions during voir dire, but the responsibility to ensure that the potential jurors participating in voir dire are the ones listed in the jury panel rests with those individuals and the court. And they cite some Virginia code there. Due process entitles litigants such as Ms. Heard to rely on the basic assurance that potential jurors are who they say they are and are the actual individuals the court summoned. There's a thing she's not saying here. And I think this is a really big thing that they should be saying if you want to file this kind of thing. And that is, they should have said, we didn't know this at the time. We could not have objected at the time because we didn't know it. We were not able to, to address this because we had no clue. But they don't say that. And if I was Judge A, it would be one of the first questions out of my mouth is just, so, did you not know? And this is actually a very significant bit, because if they sit on the information and they do nothing on it, then they may well have waived the argument. You're required typically to raise an objection. You're required to, let's say that I'm in a trial and the opposing side starts bringing in hearsay. What I can't do is just go and say, oh, well, that's hearsay, but I'm not going to object to it, because instead I want to try to use this as an appellate issue. I just want to hold that in reserve. No, if you want to use that on appeal, you have to have gotten up and objected to it. You can't just leave these things and save them like some sort of malicious law squirrel to, bring them out like they're Christmas nuts to later, you can't do that. That's not how that works. You're required to make timely objections because, you don't want mistrials, right? And so if the court's going to find that, like if the court finds that you just sat on the information for the purpose of trying to bring a mistrial later, that's the kind of issue where if they do find a mistrial, one thing that they might do where I am is they might try to say, okay, well, we're going to find a mistrial, but it's a mistrial, but you have to pay the full costs of it. You have to pay every dollar that the legal team spent, and quite possibly you have to pay the cost that the court incurred running this, which would be a lot of money. That would be a whole huge pile of money. So that is not something that the Heard team wants. I have serious questions on that one, and I got some problems on that. So the other things I want to look at here is some of the legal issues, some of the law here. And so one point I'm going to bring up, and I'll just try to pull this up here. Let's just see if I manage to screw this up. All right, so this is the Virginia Code. I see somebody saying, just for the phrase malicious law squirrel. I saw some people saying that I need to make a malicious law squirrel shirt. So I'll have to see if I can find some law squirrel imagery to make a shirt out of. So they say, objections to irregularities in jury lists or for legal disability, effect thereof. Now, I thought this bit was really interesting. They note, prior to the jury being sworn, the following objections may be made without leave of the court. Now, do you remember that argument we just saw about how the questions were pre-selected? You don't need leave of the court to raise these kinds of issues. These kinds of issues are expected to be raised. And I see somebody saying didn't object earlier because alternates were pro JD. And that, I mean, it's an ugly possibility, but it is a possibility. And I see we've also got Scott Cardinal in the chat. Welcome. But yeah, an objection specifically pointing out the irregularity in any list or lists of jurors made by the clerk from names drawn by the jury box or in the drawing, summoning, returning, or impaneling of jurors. All right, you've impaneled a juror who isn't on the list. That is a thing you could bring up without leave of the court. So this argument of we didn't have leave of the court, yeah, that's no good. So yeah, they're saying, or any objection to a juror on account of any legal disability after the jury is sworn, such objection shall be made only with leave of the court. So once the jury is sworn, you can see that even an irregular, like this law actually contemplates that even an irregularity becomes difficult to object to once that juror is impaneled. You're supposed to bring these things up during that process. That's something that's expected. But they could have asked for leave of the court at any time. At any point, they could have said, whoa, 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 doesn't that guy look real young? Let's check that out. And you don't think that they were spending, like, I was sitting there watching the jury when I was in that courtroom, but they were in there for longer than I was. And you don't think that they were checking those jurors out and cross-referencing them against the information they had? You don't think that they had all of those details? I just don't understand how that, yeah. And somebody's asking, did I see Andrea Burkhart's vid working out that Elaine knowingly lied in court about Amber Heard paying for her own defense? Getting to that too. Because, yeah, this is actually becoming a really fascinating case. And T from Tennessee, thank you very much for the super sticker. I actually kind of, I said this before, like sometimes people are going, oh, did you, when this started, I was ignoring it because I kind of thought it was legally uninteresting. And then now it became interesting, and now it's become just wild. This has become nuts. So this is just baffling. So they say, unless objection to such irregularity or disability is made pursuant to subsection A herein, and unless it appears that the irregularity was intentional, or that the irregularity or disability be such as to probably cause injustice in a criminal case to the Commonwealth, or to the accused, and in a civil case to the party making the objection, then such irregularity or disability shall not be cause for summoning a new panel or juror, or for setting aside a verdict or granting a new trial. This is a very important little passage there, because unless an objection is made pursuant to subsection A, so you had to have objected, which they didn't, and unless the irregularity was intentional, and what they are going to mean there is intentional on the side of one of the parties, or that the irregularity or disability be such as to probably cause injustice. Where's the injustice? You had a juror up there. Can you show that this juror was in some way biased? Can you show that this juror in some way skewed things and prevented the other people from doing stuff? Or is this just a situation where we had an oops, and given that they say that there was two people in the same house, it is entirely possible that they got this juror summons and they just screwed up, as to which person it was. Like one person goes and gets it and sees their name on it and goes, yeah, that's me. Because I'm guessing that they probably have the same name. It's probably a junior and a senior, but that's a guess. I can't say for certain. So, and I see if Amber lied, then why was it defamation that Walford called her a liar? Why could she win on that? I suspect that was a jury, the jury splitting the baby, which happens all the time there. And yes, Rob said that they have to show the juror an actual damage. Yes. How are you going to do that here? But not only that, but it also says, unless sub objection is made pursuant to subsection A herein, and you need both of these things. They didn't make an objection. They could have made the objection. They did not do so. I think it's too late. I don't think that they can bring that around now. So the next thing we'll look at here is, and I see somebody saying, did they not get to question all the people on the panel? Yes, but she says that, oh, well, the questions were all only approved in advance. I'm sorry. You don't think that if you come up, like if something new like that happens, even if you have an approved list of questions in advance, if something strange like that happens, you can stand up and go like, sidebar, I would like to approach and I would like to ask some additional questions like, hey, what the hell? Of course the court's going to entertain that if that's the issue. So yeah, it's just bizarre here. Hi, Runkle. Happy sunny Sunday. So are you telling us that they went through VD in 6 weeks of trial with nobody double checking full IDs? I don't see how they could have missed this. I mean, here in Canada, jury selection right now, you can do basically nothing. Because we've eliminated peremptory challenges, you basically just get who you get. But in the States, you can ask all manner of questions and you can really go into depth, and they would spend, I'm sure they spent, tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars on jury research to try to get the best possible jury here. There's no way they missed that. It's just, that's bizarre. I see there's more jury watching going on than Amber Heard watching. How many witnesses were in that courtroom to notice jurors seriously? I mean, I was there specifically to watch the jury, and people were asking questions like, oh, well, what did you think of when Amber did this? And I was like, Amber did what? Because I was looking that way, a lot. You can see, there's pictures where I'm just focused that way because that's where the jury was. I could watch Amber later on, on the replays, but the jury, you can't watch on those. So I wasn't paying attention to her. Thank you for the super sticker and the new membership here. And I see somebody, when you scroll down to earlier to the sign off, I misread respectfully signed to instead say regretfully signed. Probably would be more accurate now. I think that there's some real issues there. I see Elaine was too busy saying what, if any, to object. Oh, and Wood Daddy Stack. Yes, if you don't know what the Wood Daddy Stack is referring to, you should check out Emily D. Baker's channel on the replay, because it got a little interesting. I learned some... me, Rob, and Hogue all learned some interesting things about the world and about how Real Housewives is actually apparently interesting, or has some interesting elements to it. So, yeah. And thank you, Ask Yeshka, for the super sticker. And I should note that the malicious law squirrel is not Secret McSquirrel. Secret McSquirrel is wonderful. So, uncivil law, Wood Daddy Stack, Leather Daddy Stack, Law Tube Stack. Oh, great. The Leather Daddy thing is something you should not Google, because you will get to bad places on that. All right. So yeah, we've covered that bit. Let's go on and look at this one. Notice to jurors. And so there's all sorts of bits here, but then we've got this. Any error in the information shown on such copy of the jury panel shall not be grounds for mistrial or assignable as error on appeal, and the parties in the case shall be responsible for verifying the accuracy of such information. So the parties shall be responsible for verifying the accuracy. Going, oh, well, we didn't do it because we were relying on the court information, is specifically what the law says you can't do. The law says you can't just go, oh, well, we were relying on the court information. You have to actually verify it. That is right there in the law as a specific requirement. So, yeah, it's bizarre there. And yeah, no judgment shall be arrested or reversed for the failure of the record to show that there was service upon a juror of notice to appear in court unless made a ground of exception in the trial before the jury is sworn. Again, there is a very strong presumption here that we see all through this, that they don't want mistrials based on jury BS after the fact. You have to raise it beforehand, and you have a positive duty to investigate it. So they're really relying here, I think, on their own failures to follow the law. Like, we didn't do what the law requires us to do, and because of that, we want a mistrial. Ugh. Like, no, that's not how this works. That's not how any of this works. And yeah, I just don't know how they get to that. It's just so difficult there. And I see, if there's a hearing, please pressure Rob to sit in the gallery. Would love to know how Judge A responds to Elaine. I don't know if it'll be open to the public, but if it is, I suspect he'll want to be there, because if he's free, he's got a busy practice. And thank you for the new membership. Now, that's not all that's going on here that is a wee bit sketchy. And so let's keep going, because the sketch just does not stop. All right, so let's let me just see here. I got to redo the screen sharing here and find the right place. All right, so what we've got here is Amber's being sued again, because of course she is. This is pretty much going to be her main hobby now, it seems like, is getting sued. So, and I see, will we see Depp's answer to the motions? I'm trying to get it, and when I do get it, we'll see when we get it. So yeah, and I see people trying to go with drama around other creators and so forth in the chat. I'm really not about the drama here, people. You should take that to where it belongs. So, which is not here. So yeah, let's do you think Amber's team will argue Juror 15 knew he wasn't called and wanted on the jury for personal reasons? I think they're going to try to argue it. I don't think that they've got I don't think that they've got it, much likelihood. And I see DUI guy had a journalist on yesterday that has sat in on one meeting since trial closed. Judge has had it with Elaine and told her this trial is closed. Yeah, I don't think Judge A is going to let this fly, and I suspect that she is. I suspect that a certain portion of this is for PR purposes, and a certain portion of this is to pad out their appeal. But and I see they'll have Kim Blandino representation next, and next stream with Farron was hysterical. Baldo, I didn't know what one of those was, and I am doing my best to forget that now. Alcohol will help. That's actually an idea here. Alcohol cures all problems. So that's and is really helpful when you're covering Amber Heard chaos here. So all right, so as we can see, she is being sued by New York Marine and General Insurance Company, a New York corporation, versus Amber Heard, an individual defendant. Fun times, right? And I see somebody saying, popping the Caesars. No, I'm this is a scotch, because scotch is great. It's something you can use when you're celebrating, and it's something you can use when you're upset. It's kind of a good morning drink. It's a good celebration drink. And this is kind of both, because it's hilarious and stupid all at the same time. So has anybody looked at any of Elaine's past trials? Has she always been so dirty? I don't know if she's dirty, although there is a rumor floating around that she got kicked off of a previous trial for some issues with evidence. I don't know about that, but you'll have to, check there. I see somebody saying whiskey, not scotch. I think this is a scotch, or at least claims to. Nope, it just claims to be a whiskey. So you are correct. Regardless, it's going to be tasty. And uncivil with a bad take. Bourbon is greater than scotch. Fight me. You are too far away, but potentially. All right, so let's keep going here, because a lot of people have said, what is this insurance claim about, and what does it mean? And there's a whole lot of interesting stuff in there. And yeah. So, a plaintiff, New York Marine and General Insurance Company. That's one company, I'm pretty sure. Not two companies. That's just one plaintiff. Otherwise, they'd have been split up. And I see breaking news: TMC has just reported that Lionel Hutz has taken over Heard's legal team. That's I would not be surprised at this point. So yeah. All right. So jurisdiction and venue. The United States District Court for the Central District of California has original jurisdiction, and they go on to explain why. Now, this is kind of the boring part of the statement of claim, and nevertheless, it is really important. This sort of stuff is important to put into a claim because you want to tell the court why the court can hear your matter. That's an important thing, right? Hey, court, you should hear this, and here's why you can. It's important, but it's boring. So I'm going to skip over. Basically, they say, they say Heard relies in Central District of California and a bunch of stuff tying it to Central District of California. We're going to skip over that because, as I said, it's boring. Somebody says, do all lawyers have to drink to be live? No, but it helps. That's... and sometimes I like a scotch, and sometimes, yeah, it actually does help when you're trying to be, trying to be entertaining on a stream here. It is a little self-conscious when you're staring into that camera and there's 2,800 people watching, and you go, okay. So yeah. All right. Plaintiff New York Marine is a corporation organized under the laws of the state of New York with a principal business in New York City within the state of New York. Heard is, and at all times herein mentioned, was an individual who is a citizen and resident of California. Now, what are the reasons why they might want to sue in the California area is that you generally want to sue somebody where their money is. It makes it a lot easier to collect if your judgment and their money live in the same place, because you want to connect the judgment to the money. And so you don't want to have to, involve intervening, countries or states or anything like that. So, yeah. And and I see somebody saying, lawyer, said she should win this. I don't think he took a lot of the facts into account, such as the clause where she was found guilty and acted with malice, no injury to her. I think she's actually got some case on this, but I think that this hurts her more in other ways than this lawsuit. So we'll talk a little bit about that. And thank you for the super sticker. Somebody says, hot tip, don't pick your nose. That is a good tip. I appreciate that one. All right. So basically, New York issued her a policy with a per occurrence limit of $1 million. And so, that's a fair chunk of money. And it provides coverage for damages because of bodily injury, property damage, or personal injury caused by an occurrence, and defines personal injury to mean injury other than bodily injury arising out of one or more enumerated offenses included in the policy, which includes, and this is important, oral or written publication of material that slanders or libels a person or organization, including other forms of defamation, and oral or written publication of material, including other forms of defamation that violates a person's right to privacy. This is something you can have an insurance, policy that covers, but it's going to get interesting because they are going to be relying on some additional legal points. Now they go and sort of mention the underlying lawsuit because Depp is seeking, sought and is seeking damages for the op-ed written by Heard. And so on or about September 4th, 2019, she tendered the underlying action to New York Marine. Now, this is kind of an important thing because one of the things insurance does is insurance will often step in to defend you. And they're not doing this because they like you. They're not doing this because they're your friend. The insurance company is not your friend. The insurance company are kind of dicks. That is just always the case as to, how insurance companies roll. And so, and if you think the insurance company is your friend, you are probably just confusing this for the insurance company being in a situation where it costs less to help you out than it would cost to screw you. So keep that in mind. Insurance companies, not great, although they are wonderful at times. When I had a sewage flood in my house, and I will tell you that a sewage flood is the worst thing you can deal with. The smell from a sewage flood is intense, and the damage there is something. And so he says, "Hey, I work for an insurance company. We are not dicks." Insurance companies have a substantial incentive not to pay you when it actually comes time for a claim. But yeah, I mean, when I had a sewage flood, the insurance company was magical because they, I called them up and they were like, "Hey, we're gonna send some people." And within, I think it was 6 hours, that I had a team of people coming in and hauling stuff out of my basement and throwing it out, ripping all the drywall out and throwing it out, and my basement is livable again. So that is, that was the magic of having insurance. But there's plenty of times when the insurance company will step in to defend you in a case. Like, let's say you're driving along and you get into an accident. Your car insurance will probably step in to defend you in the lawsuit against you. And that's not because you're friends. It's because that's because they're actually there wanting to limit their damage. And I see Amber took out homeowners insurance policies with 2 separate insurance companies in 2018. Travelers Insurance has already spent over $5 million for Amber Heard's case. Elaine closing statements lied, saying Amber Heard paid $6 million. Yep. And I see question for Runkle. I thought there were 2 insurance companies, New York Marine and Travelers. That's what I've heard as well. But I've only actually got the one here to look at, unfortunately. So, and I see that they're saying they're suing in California because the California insurance clause excluding them from covering willful conduct on the part of the insured. And I also suspect, I mean, they were in California. That's where that policy was issued. Remember, we are in Canada. I am going to cover more Canadian law. I've got videos coming. Unfortunately, some of those Supreme Court cases are dense to get through, and some of them are troublesome. So, yeah, the dates are very important. Timing of the op-ed, yes. And does this mean Amber committed perjury yet again when she said that she paid legal fees, making her unable to fulfill her pledges to charity? Maybe. That's a big maybe on that. And I see somebody saying lawyer was looking at this morning. I haven't seen that video yet, but I suspect it's great content, so check it out. He's always always there. I see agents not always dicks, companies total dicks typically. Yes, that is, I think, a fair statement. And I see late to the party. We'll have to rewatch when done, but how long will it take for these motions to be replied to by Judge A, etc.? She may not actually reply to them, so we'll have to see. And somebody's saying they'd like to see some coverage of Tamara Litch. I may have to have a look at that at some point here. So New York Marine accepted Heard's defense of the underlying action subject to reservation of rights. Specifically, New York Marine advised Heard that New York Marine would provide a legal defense, but that to the extent California law does not permit an insurer to indemnify the insured, no indemnity can be provided. So they've got some limitations here that they'll actually point out and specifically mention here. Now, here's where we get some really interesting things here. They say New York Marine agreed to continue the defense of Heard through the law firm Cameron McAvoy PLLC. New York Marine is informed and believes, and on such information and belief alleges, that Heard or her agents instructed other firms defending Heard in the underlying action to not include Cameron McAvoy in Heard's ongoing defense. As a result, on or around November 2nd, 2020, Cameron McAvoy withdrew from the defense of Heard in the underlying action. Now, this is something that can be sort of fatal, in the sense that often it's a requirement that you allow the insurance company to participate in the defense for them to give coverage. Now, I don't have the specific policy, so I can't tell for certain, but this could be a really big deal. And I see somebody's asking me on a stream on Dobbs versus U.S. and Canadian law, what would stop the same from happening here? I am thinking of doing a video on the Morgenthaler case, because the Morgenthaler case is a bit wild, because Morgenthaler is basically a big jury nullification case, but Canada doesn't recognize jury nullification, but it sort of happened anyway. It's interesting. So wait, Judge A doesn't have to respond. Love your stuff. So somebody's saying Leather Daddy Stack is trending on Twitter, Ian. You know what? That could be completely unrelated. There's plenty of reasons why people would search that. All right. So they also cite the jury instructions and say that the jury's verdict must be based on the facts as you find them and on all the law contained in this. So the reason why they cite that is to basically say that the jury we can infer things from the jury's verdict, right? Because the jury goes off into that, they go off into a room there, and the jury makes their decisions. And in theory, the jury is supposed to rely on the law. But in practice, juries are weird, and juries can do all sorts of strange and terrible things. So they could go in there and literally decide, you know what? We're going to decide this one based on who wins a dart game. They could do that, and they'd never have to tell anybody that that's what they did. So, and I see, thank you for the new membership. And insurance companies are liable to honor their contracts by law. Yep. And sometimes they try to get out of that, but that's sort of the issues there. So, this is why they're referencing these jury instructions, is that they want to be able to infer that we can read certain things into the jury's verdict. And so they go and they cite the claims. I'm not going to repeat all of those, because if you've been watching this trial, you are a massive you've been massively in depth. I see Tug did a great video on the policy with the dates. So yep, check out Tug's work. He does a tremendous amount of research here. Hey, we got Rob from Law and Lumber. How you doing?
Hey, buddy. How's it going?
Oh, it's going all right. My attention deficit is all over the place, but that's just, that's just Sunday. So
we're reading pleadings. So is this the complaint for declaratory relief?
Yeah, this is the insurance complaint here. Yeah, complaint for declaratory relief and demand for jury trial. So awesome. Fun stuff. Because this one is entertaining.
Wait, a demand for jury trial with a complaint for declaratory relief?
Yeah.
That's weird.
It is kind of weird. Because normally that's something you'd just ask for a judge to issue, at least. And I thought that was kind of my own, like, a difference between Canada versus the US. But yeah.
No, that's weird. That doesn't make any sense. Well, it makes sense, but it's crazy.
And somebody's asking, is there a gag order on the Peter Nygaard case, or will I cover it? In Canada, that almost certainly is covered by a number of publication bans. So that might be hard to cover. It's also a lot harder to cover ongoing cases in Canada because we don't televise anything. So I'd have to actually drive out there and sit in on the court. And as much as that's fun sometimes, I also am kind of running out of days I can free up in my calendar. So I see, to not include spirits during a live could be considered alcohol abuse, and that's sad. I support your choice completely. And hi, Rob, you must have heard your number in the chat. And she's covered if her publications violate someone's right to privacy, not if she's found to be legally defamatory. Well, in the thing is that you can defame people in different ways. And the problem that she runs into on this one is that she's alleged to have defamed a public figure. And the standard for that is higher. And because the standard for that is higher, this is where we can sort of read more into what the jury must have found if they were getting to the verdict. And somebody said, has anyone checked Amber Heard's driver's license revoked for 5 years at 16? I've heard that, but I haven't looked into it. I don't know if it's accurate. Wood Daddy Stack in the super chat. And I see Tragos Law is in search of Amber Heard's actual insurance policy. He posted about it on Twitter about 15 minutes ago. I'd love to see that as well. Yeah. And there's a comment about saw the tables you made on your Instagram page. Absolutely beautiful. I've seen those tables in person. They are amazing work. Rob does just tremendous work. So, all right. So, they list off all the things that had to have been found, that it was about depth, that it has a defamatory implication, that it was designed and intended. Intended is a key word here because we're talking intentional aspects here. And there's also the actual malice element that she made the statement with actual malice. And I see a super chat. How are you after last night with Potter? Thank you for covering it in a live stream. Bottoms up. Hello from Switzerland. Hi, Rob. So for the people who haven't been following along, Potter had double, I think it's TLPO surgery, which is basically doggy ACL. And because of that, he is struggling. And somebody on Twitter was saying, why did they do both at the same time? Don't they never do that? Apparently one of them was blown and the other one was like real close to blown. So both of his legs needed the work and they didn't want to have him relying on the one that was not blown because then he was going to blow it. So that's why that happened. But he's hurting. He can't do a lot of the things he wants to do. And my wife and I, our room is up, there's stairs to get to it. And he can't do lots of stairs right now because he's hurting. So he doesn't like being left alone because he's hurting, and he normally likes to be near us when we're sleeping. So we've had to kind of alternate who sleeps on the main floor with the dog just to, be there next to him so that he doesn't freak out. And sometimes he's been whining during the night. It's been hard to get a good night's sleep, but we love the guy. He's worth it. He's a great friend, and he's a little more mobile now, which is actually a bit of a problem because now he wants to do the things that he can't do because our job is to keep him from doing all that stuff.
Well, and I saw the donut around his neck versus the cone, and the donut,
yeah.
Is that working out?
Pretty good, although he can still manage to get around to lick. So we've been having to watch him and make sure he doesn't. So, yeah. And Robin Runkle, best bromance on YouTube, would Daddy stack? That's not going away anytime soon. Apologies. I meant how long does the process take for Judge A to reply to Amber's motion to dismiss / retrial? Just jumped into live and didn't realize you were covering the insurance complaint instead. We did cover the other aspect there. And somebody's mentioning I should check with the real Laura B. Yep, that is a good thought. She does amazing research on all of that. Yeah, so
the motion to reconsider, Judge A can wait until whenever. She actually doesn't have to rule on it. There's no requirement that she has to rule on it.
Yeah.
But in a matter of course, what the judge does is the judge will rule on those, generally speaking, in chambers. They won't request a hearing. They'll do it in chambers, and they'll do it before the deadline for running the appeal or for noting the appeal lapses. So before that July 24th date, you'll see a ruling. It'll probably be an order that's going to be like one paragraph, motion denied, and then the appeal will follow.
I mean, if I was Judge A, I would probably be doing more than that. Yeah. But I'm a vindictive, angry guy, but I'm looking through this and I'm thinking there's enough to really, to really justify calling them in and being like, so let's talk about whether you should face sanctions for this. Like, let's talk about whether you should be really slapped around. I think Judge A is going to not do that. And I think that's because this is such a high profile trial and she really seems like she's wanting to,
she wants to get back to like do normal trial stuff. Like she wants to get back to normal. And like, so she's just going to kick this thing out and be like, I don't want to deal with this. I'm not dealing with the drama anymore. You guys want to stir drama? You do it on Twitter. You do it in the media, but not in my courtroom.
Yeah. And stop using my courtroom as Twitter. Somebody's saying, which is more uncomfortable, sleeping on the floor with Potter or sleeping in line outside court at the Depp and Heard trial? I've got a mattress set up now. So, outside court was way more uncomfortable. Can't I carry him upstairs he is huge. He is not a small pup. He's like as big as I am. And yeah, And if I drop him, that would be so catastrophic. So I see, Ian, your leather work is freaking amazing too. Does not compare. I can tell you that for free.
I disagree entirely. So Crazy Cat Queen, you and I are in agreement.
This is for Potter. Love from the Corsaro family. And Rob, best team ever. CBD and Animal Chiropractor Fund. My dog went through the same thing. As long as he was near one of us, he's much calmer and able to handle the pain better. The healing took 2 months. Yeah, that's kind of the timeline for us too. And he is a lot happier when he's around. Somebody's saying, Runkle, please help. I took the PAL, and I guess that's the hunter and shooter course a while back, 2 or 3 years, but never sent in paperwork. Is there a time limit for having to do it again? Hunter education is provincial, so that'll depend on which province you're in. But for the PAL course, you have to have taken it during your life. So if you have taken it and passed, you are good to go. So you shouldn't run into trouble so long as it properly got sent in. Hi, Leather Daddy and hi, Wood Daddy Stacks. Just got here. I'm working right now. Hope everyone is doing good. That's that's never going to go there. So yeah. 2 favorite fellas on the YouTubes. Hi from Boston. Sometimes I come to bed late and my side of the bed is covered with dogs and cats, so I sleep on the floor next to the bed. So I'll tell you a story about Zora. Zora, my wife, inevitably goes to bed before I do because she keeps to a sensible schedule and I keep to an attention deficit schedule, which there's some overlap on that, but it's not a lot. She goes down to bed, and Zora loves my wife. She picked a clear favorite early on, and she's stuck to it. So like she'll be like, okay, Runkle, screw you. I'm leaving, So she goes, and Zora is like sleeping on the bed on my side. But then when I come down to bed, Zora will see me coming into bed, get up, move to make space for me, let me get into the bed because she's occupying the space. And then once I'm in, she'll go and she'll park her head and like lean her head on my legs because my wife does not allow the dog to do that. And I don't mind. So it's always the sweetest thing. So that's always kind of nice. Are you amazed the Depp Heard trial resulted in such amazing new friends for you guys? Yes. That is actually my favorite thing about this trial.
Absolutely. Without a doubt. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just, it's like, how else would I have met, Rob? I just can't imagine it happening. So yeah. What's the difference between chambers and a hearing? Also, you two totally need a joint Etsy shop.
Ooh, that would be dangerous. We would like start like 9 million projects and nothing would get listed.
Yes. And somebody was asking what happened with the Wood Daddy t-shirt design thievery. So that was a joke t-shirt design that I didn't actually intend to make because, yeah. If Rob wants to make that shirt, he can use that image. That's fine. But, so, and I see DM'd link to the Travelers and that's I will have to check that out. Yeah, that's that I may have to check out because that is interesting. So I'm just having a look there, but what is it? Just trying to find that here. But yeah, no, it's so yeah, I sent in a DMCA notice on that one because I mean that's just somebody stealing stuff. They're adding absolutely nothing to it, and what was the advantage to that? Like they're just like they were just trying to sort of snipe that. So and there is a whole bunch of stuff here. So this is interesting. We may have to go through some of this as we go, and looks like there's a stay order that was denied.
Law Talk with Mike is in the chat. So hey, buddy, how you doing?
Hey, and I see it feels like new friends for us too. Yeah, it's a lot of people kind of found each other as a result of this whole thing, and like that was yeah. Hey, Runkle, any tips for case hardening leather? I have not done any of that, so I can't advise there. My tip is do what I do, which is get on YouTube and check it out. See, Rob, don't you have H.H. Holmes homework to do tonight?
Yes. and I have a small trial tomorrow.
So yeah, we should carry on here. So yeah, the reason why they go through all of those, the elements that the jury would have to use, is because they're trying to show that there was an intentionality here, that this was a willful act. And they go through it twice because, or I think they go through it 3 times because there's 3 judgments. And they note the jury awarded 10 million and, the 5 million. So declaratory relief. Now they're actually going to have multiple causes of action that are basically the same cause of action. And I see somebody asking, would you do a wood and leather collab? I could see that. I'm not sure what that would look like, but so plaintiff incorporates by reference all of the allegations in paragraph 1 through 26. So yeah. California Insurance Code provides that an insurer is not liable for a loss caused by the willful act of the insured, but he is not exonerated by the negligence of the insured or of the insured's agents or others. This provision is an implied exclusionary cause, which by statute is read into all insurance policies under California law. So this is... Now, there's a really good public policy reason for preventing people from getting insurance against intentional acts, right? Because let's say you are some sort of, let's say you're, some sort of jackass, and possibly from the show, but possibly just a regular sort, and you decide that it would be really funny to take a crowd of people, say on New Year's Eve, and throw free bricks to them from from on high, an intentional act that is likely to injure people. This actually prevents an insurance company from indemnifying you. Like, it allows them to go, nah, we don't cover that. And what that means is that we limit the amount of intentional stupidity that we get in society. So there is a reason why they put this kind of limitation in. It's not just, California is not sort of known for being super pro insurance companies, but this is the kind of thing that you want to limit things for, just for, so yeah. And I see somebody saying, I sent in a $2 super chat and they believe they were charged $100. If so, send in a refund request. I don't have the ability, I don't think, to refund them, but I think you can request one, and that would be a good reason to do so. So, yeah. All right. And somebody's saying that my subscriber count is under 200,000. Okay. I expect it's going to do that. All right. So they say the jury's factual findings establish that Heard's liability is caused by the willful acts of Heard. And as a result, as a matter of California public policy, the policy does not provide coverage. Again, they specifically, for public policy reasons, exclude that. And so, yeah. So they're saying essentially they want to sue to not have to have any obligation to indemnify Amber Heard for the judgment order. They don't want to, they don't want to have to pay that. They want out. And they continue on saying that they want to, there's a second aspect where they say they want a declaration saying that there's no obligation to indemnify. I don't know why they sort of repeat it, but they do. And yeah. And they carry on. I think this is just for each. I think they repeat it once for each separate heading of the $10 million, because there was 3 findings of defamation. If A, won appeal for new trial, can J say no to it? I mean, if she's got a new trial and it's just on the just on Johnny Depp's claims, then he could abandon it, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, he could abandon the claims, but the problem is a new trial would be on either his claims or her counterclaim. I can't see that consolidated appeal getting just dismissed voluntarily when it gets a new trial.
Yeah.
It just wouldn't happen that way. I also really, the odds of a new trial in this case, I'm going to put at maybe 0.5%, like 0.5%. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah, I was going to say 0.5%. So we picked the same number. Yeah, it's just absolutely, the court is not going to want to give a new trial for this.
No.
And so they say after, this is, interesting aspects. After New York Marine accepted Heard's defense, Heard, both individually and through her agents, refused to help New York Marine with the conduct of the suit and instructed other defense firms representing Heard not to include defense counsel provided by New York Marine in the ongoing defense of Heard in the underlying action. This is super bad, folks. If you have an insurance claim and you cut the insurer out of being able to do it, in some jurisdictions, the insurer actually has the right to fire your other counsel to take over.
Yep.
In some cases, they can absolutely say, you know what? No, we're in charge and we get to decide. And those other people can leave now. But in some jurisdictions, it's the other way around where, and it appears that this might be the case there. But the issue, the result of that, if you have the right to tell the insurers to pound sand, is that you are probably just agreeing that you're going to be fully liable, that the insurance isn't going to help you out, that you are then in breach of the contract there. So don't do this. Well, talk to a lawyer if you are contemplating doing this in your area, but usually this is a bad idea. If you are thinking about it specifically to you, you need specific legal advice. But this is one of those things when you read it in a pleading where you're like, if that is true, somebody blundered in a big way. And yeah. So meanwhile, in Europe, Johnny's having the time of his life. Women are throwing bras and panties at him on stage. Lol. Yeah, he is having... It's funny because both Johnny Depp and Amber Heard said, whoops, I'm slipping around here. Both of them said, you know what? I want to move on and move past this and go on with my life. And one of them is doing it. It's ridiculous. Somebody saying, I don't believe she would qualify for a public defender. You don't generally get a public defender on civil suits, but she might if she gets charged with perjury in, say, some foreign jurisdiction, maybe somewhere with kangaroos. I'm narrowing it down. So
just a bit.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. So, and then they talk about, they're saying that there's an actual controversy has arisen and now exists. The reason why they're talking about that is because they're asking for a declaratory relief, which is kind of an interesting thing because you're asking the court to step in where you aren't actually having a fight yet. And, you typically, when you're doing that, you have to show the court that there's some reason for them to step in, because the court does not entertain just questions. If I'm wondering, hey, would it be legal for me to ride a unicycle on top of an elephant down Main Street? I can't ask the court for a declaration that would be legal unless there's some sort of controversy about that. Usually you'd have to actually do it and then, and then have a legal contention. So that's why they're having to argue here. And you need to watch Lawyer You Know's analysis of the insurance company's lawsuits. Yes, I'm sure that is, fantastic. He does good work there. So they're asking for relief here. Now, there's a whole bunch of stuff going on in the traveler's insurance stuff. So let's see if we can bring some of that up, because that is interesting.
So travelers in this one is whom? Are they Johnny Depp's attorneys or Johnny Depp's insurance policy, or is this a competing policy that she had for
competing policy?
Ooh, so she had primary and supplemental insurance?
It looks like. And let's have a look at what that's all about, because
danger.
So Travelers Insurance Company is suing New York Marine in General. And so if you're wondering who's New York Marine in General, they're the people from the last suit, right? Those New York Marine is suing Amber Heard, and then in turn, Travelers is suing New York Marine. So we got this chain. And this can happen when you have more than one insurance company, because typically both insurance companies want to have rules that basically say the other insurance company pays, and they get really upset if the other insurance company is not stepping in,
So
especially if the damages are in the millions, which
paragraph 1 is going to be the most curious argument that I think I could possibly imagine, because this is so funny. The argument that's going to happen over whether Amber Heard really did reject the attorneys that were provided by New York Marine and how they rejected them. And that dialogue back and forth. So most of these communications, as a general rule, are kept confidential, unless you get to this part of the litigation, where it's now, it's not me, it's you, and now it's pointing fingers, and the pointing fingers game releases all of these communications. So this is going to get really, really nasty.
this is also why it can be really dangerous to sue your lawyer, because often when you sue your lawyer, it puts a lot of those communications into the realm of they can bring those up. So I have never had a law society complaint stand. I have never had a lawsuit stand, but I did have I got communication saying, "Hey, we were going to sue you," and it was like, "Okay, you need to be aware that you're going to see the following communications in the lawsuit." And I got back, "We're not suing you," because I'd covered, like, when you got instructions in writing, it's just not, there's not a whole lot that can be done there. But Law Patrol is noting no way she can get legal aid funding for the perjury charges. Fingers crossed, should have my Freedom of Information applications come back in the next couple of weeks. May be able to answer that properly then. So that is, yeah. And legal aid funding everywhere has typically a means test, right? Because you don't want millionaires getting funding that's intended for people who can't afford counsel. I don't think Amber Heard, when she's taking private jets and staying in $20,000 a month places and so forth, is ever going to be able to say, "Oh, well, I'm indigent." Yeah, no, sorry. That's for people like living out of their car. Soothes my soul to see you two together again. It's like a nostalgic sweet medicine for my soul on all things Amber Heard and Johnny Depp. Thank you both for your time. So, what is subrogation, and would it apply in the case between these two lawyers? Subrogation is that thing where your lawyers or where your insurance company can step in to defend you against the claim. And I mean, this can actually be a problem for people. Sometimes people get really upset because sometimes the insurance company steps in and says, "We want to settle," and you're like, "But I don't want to admit anything."
Well, it's a little different than that. A little bit different than that. Subrogation is subrogation of a claim. So the claim that you have, so Amber Heard's claim, the subrogation would be the insurance company. If Amber Heard were to receive money, the insurance company would claim subrogation and say Amber Heard's claim is lesser than theirs because they actually had to spend the money that went out. So they get their money off the top before anything goes to Amber Heard. And so, for example, in this particular case, right, if Johnny Depp's insurance company had put up money for his lawsuit, it wouldn't have happened, but if they did, and Johnny Depp's insurance company paid out $5 million, right? Amber Heard, when she were to pay $10 million, Johnny Depp's insurance company would say, Johnny Depp's claim, we're going to subrogate his claim so that he gets the money after we get our reimbursement. So that's the principle. The insurance company steps in to get their money back that they had to use to defend against the lawsuit.
Where I am, they also use the term for like where it comes up quite a bit is like mother and kid are driving in a car. Mom crashes it into a pole. The insurance company can step in and sue mom on behalf of kid because they say, you screwed up.
That's part of it too.
Yeah. So this is where you get all these claims of like mom versus kid or kid versus mom or, whatever else. And like kid is, might not want to sue mom. Kid's like 14 and loves his mom. Or the kid is like 2 and doesn't want to sue anybody because they don't know what a lawsuit is. But the insurance company gets to make some of those calls. And Amber was drinking the equivalent of my yearly gross wage every month. Yeah, it's ridiculous. And people are contemplating my age. I am not a boomer, folks, although sometimes I mess up computers anyway.
No. And I have photographs. I have photographs to prove it. I do have a photograph of Runkle's license that I'm keeping as blackmail.
Yeah.
Blackmail until the day that he like casts me aside, and I will release the unseen Runkle.
And I see people saying, guys, Runkle is a self-admitted boomer with tech. I'm still I'm pretty good with tech, except I'm still figuring out all this streaming stuff. I've had to learn a lot in a very short time, and I'm still struggling with that. So 2.5 million was paid out 1 year prior to EB, and then EB requested more. EB stated Amber Heard didn't have the money in testimony and closing. Yeah, we'll see some of that, I think, in this lawsuit here, because they note defendant New York Marine and General Insurance Company, so New York Marine's failure to meet its obligations to provide it and travelers mutual insured with independent counsel and other counsel necessary to defend their insured is a breach of its insurance policy and its obligations under California law, and has unfairly forced travelers to pay New York Marine's proper share of defense costs. Travelers has been damaged by this conduct and is entitled to judgment in the form of a declaration that New York Marine was obligated to provide the mutually insured with independent counsel. Moreover, under the doctrine of equitable contribution, Travelers is entitled to reimbursement from New York Marine of half of the money that Travelers has spent thus far to defend their mutual interest with independent counsel and other counsel experts and vendors, while New York Marine has wrongfully refused to do so. So this tells us that Travelers has spent a whole pile of money on Amber's defense and is upset that New York Marine wanted to hire that other law firm.
Dude, this is going to be the most fun lawsuit to watch ever. This is going to be so much fun. Like all of the Amber Heard and Johnny Depp stress that people were feeling, right? This is the fun part where Amber Heard has lost, and it's like, who has to pay what on that losing side? So you're watching all of the losing parties squabble and fight, and they're going to get really nasty in all these communications.
Yeah. This is basically all of the the old thing about rats fleeing the sinking ship. In law, that's not how it works. The rats turn on each other and try to cannibalize each other so that the biggest rat, ends up being the last one alive. We are now watching that process, and it's going to be fun. This is, admittedly, a lot of the allegations are going to be less salacious than in the Depp trial, but we might learn some things that we never learned before. And one of those things is that Elaine might not have been entirely honest, and Amber might not have been, entirely honest. I know people are stunned by this, but Amber may have told some...
Wait, hang on, Runkle. This is my surprise face.
Yeah, exactly. And people are guessing as to whether I'm a millennial. I'm actually Gen X. So thank you for the $10 there. So, all right. So jurisdiction and venue. Again, this is important for lawyers and boring for everyone else. So we're going to skip it over. Basically, they're saying the case should happen in the place we filed it because of reasons. And super interesting, super important, usually not interesting. It was interesting in the Depp trial because the Depp trial had particulars about them fighting a lot to try to get the right venue. But, and I see somebody saying Tragos just got the one filed 7/8/22. I'll have to look in a second as to which ones we've got. So New York Marines, they say that they were required to provide independent counsel, which is interesting. They promised a defense to any lawsuit seeking such damages. And they say that triggered the rights of the insured to be defended by independent counsel of the mutual insured's choosing at New York Marine's expense. That is interesting because New York Marine instead appointed defense counsel of its choice and repeatedly refused demands by the mutual insured and by travelers to participate in the defense with count of the mutual insured's choosing. So both of them are alleging that the other side shut them out. So Would Travelers get her $2 million? I don't know if Travelers is going to get any money out of her, but they're going to try. What are the differences if a case like this were in Canada? Lots. Too much to go over right now. Rob, how often do you encounter Judge Penny, and who do judges seek advice from?
I was in front of Judge Ascarate 2 weeks ago, just for a scheduling matter. But she's the chief judge, so she handles a lot of scheduling and the management of the docket for the whole court. My odds of getting her for a trial are 1 in about 16 for every trial that comes up. Not that often that it comes up, and not often do we actually go all the way to trial. We settle stuff pretty frequently. I see her quite often in counter control. And then judges seeking advice. Judges talk in chambers back and forth between each other. Just they'll spitball things. But generally speaking, they will seek counsel from the law clerks. They choose their law clerks each individually. There's a screening process, and they go through and they pick their law clerks, and they like to bounce ideas off the law clerks more as a sounding board than anything else. It's like if Runkle and I were in a room together and I was talking to Runkle about a trial I have. It's not that I'm seeking his advice. I'm getting the sounding board and having someone poke holes in my argument or poke holes in what I'm thinking. That's how judges kind of decide stuff.
And lawyers do this all the time. Like if I went to the Supreme Court of Canada, and I will tell you that I did a ton of prep for that, because they're the only things that we televise here in Canada. And so before I did that, I wanted to make sure that I wasn't going to absolutely clown myself, because a lot of people I knew were going to watch that. So I ran my argument past some lawyers and was like, I need you to dunk on me as hard as you can. And I sort of kept doing that until I was able to make sure that I was sort of not getting clowned in there. So now we have Travelers provides independent counsel. So because New York Marine refused to, but Travelers had a homeowner's policy, they said, okay, we're going to provide independent counsel. And, they're saying, oh, well, we provided it, but New York Marine has not. And New York Marine has indicated that after trial, it will likely attempt to deny coverage for any award against the mutual insured based on its reservation of rights, which they are in fact doing. And what is it? So they must they want the half of the money there. So I want to see how much that was, because that's going to be really interesting here. All right. So they want that declaration. We already saw that. And half the fees and costs. Where is the costs? So they still want the half in fees and costs. They say they owe that, but have refused to do so. And they want 10%. And they want costs, which is, of course, what you always ask for. All right. So that is not, they don't tell us how much. They don't tell us how much yet. All right. So let's see if we have any additional document. There is an amended complaint. All right. So they filed an amended complaint. Let's see what that looks like here. Mountain controversy exceeds $75,000, which isn't surprising. How much do they pay out? There's an amendment to the complaint here. So there's pro-site now indicated. When an insurer reserves its rights on a given issue and the outcome of that coverage issue can be controlled by counsel first retained by the insurer for the defensive claim, a conflict of interest may exist. So what they're pointing out is that there's a conflict between Amber Heard and between New York Marine. Why is there a conflict? Well, because you could actually have a situation where New York Marine, if they were providing for the coverage themselves, could be quite happy with Amber losing. Specifically, if Amber loses in a way that it's intentional, then they're absolved of having to cover it. So I actually think that the conflict argument is actually a kind of a good one in terms of there being a potential for a real conflict. Why should NYM indemnify Amber Heard when they didn't approve of a concomitant change in counsel? An insurer is not liable for a loss caused by the willful act of the insured. Amber Heard was found by a jury to have acted with actual malice / willfully. I think there's actually a pretty good argument that they should have provided independent counsel and then come after her afterwards for the money on the basis of you weren't insured at the time. This conflict of interest aspect to it, I don't think is crazy. It doesn't seem nuts on that element. And they say, ProSite sent an email to travelers encouraging travelers to revise its reservation of rights to avoid the having to provide the mutual insured with independent defense counsel. And you can still control the defense as there's no conflict of interest. You address both willful acts and punitive damages. But they refused to collaborate or participate in ProSite's scheme and repeatedly demanded that ProSite pay its share of the mutually insured independent defense counsel fees and costs. Scheme is one of those words that you sort of break out when you think you've got some cards, or if you just want to talk big. But so Andrea mentioned that Elaine may have lied to the court because she said in closing that Amber had paid $6 million in attorney's fees, knowing it was false and why she didn't donate. Ethics violation. Oh, there's all sorts of potential problems there, and I'm hoping that they get into the actual amounts here, because they note Amber Heard said on the stand she couldn't pay her donations because trial cost $6 million. Elaine said in closing that Amber Heard paid $6 million for the trial. Yes, that's why I'm hoping we get to damages amount here. How much is the actual amount? Where is this here? Surely they should actually list how much money they want.
Shirley. Don't call me Shirley.
They just say half. Why are they not? And I see $5 million total costs, and that's entirely believable there. So let's go down to the next motion to dismiss. In chambers, final ruling on defendant New York Marine and General Insurance Company's motion to dismiss. Court grants defendant's motion to dismiss. This is interesting. I'm just trying to find the key bits there. Defendant now moves to dismiss, or alternatively for a more definitive statement with respect to the claim. So they must construe the complaint in the light most favorable to the plaintiffs. That is common for these kinds of applications, because when you're trying to strike something out, you, of course, have to give it as much credit as it possibly could, because you're throwing it out without having a proper trial. And accept all well-pleaded factual allegations as true, as well as all reasonable inferences to be drawn from them. So that is basically, we have to assume that everything you say you can prove, that you actually will prove. Because, again, you're asking to throw this out with without a trial. And I see good logic might be here in the chat. So I think that's why they amended the complaint. But this is after the amendment. So this looks like it's after the amendment. Because I'm just looking at the timing here. Dismiss case January 7th, 2022. Amended complaint September 7th, 2021. That's after the amendment. But then it keeps going somehow. So I'm not sure how. And then there's a counterclaim. So we'll get to that too. I'm just going to scroll down to the bottom and just see what's going on, because I'm figuring this out as they go. All right, so they did dismiss it, but then they're noting that there's a status conference for January 20th to discuss future litigation. So it's not clear what's going on here, but part of that was thrown out. I was told that the counterclaim is where, and answer to complaint is where a lot of this is, the action is. Okay, guys, if you ever become a lawyer, please do not do this. I will come out of your screen with a rolled up newspaper to smack you. And I see, thank you to two of my favorite law tubers for making washing dishes not so boring. Love listening to you. Yeah, if you write like this, I will come out of your screen to smack you. Comes now defendant New York Marine and General Insurance Company and answers the first plaintiff. This is how lawyers jerk off.
Oh, Runkle, you can't smack me. You're not allowed to.
Oh, please tell me you don't write like this.
It's in my standard pleadings. Like, it is what it is. Comes now the plaintiff, blah, 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 blah. It's just in the pleadings. It's in the boilerplate.
It sounds like 16th century porn.
Yes, it does. I get it. I understand entirely, but it's what we do. It just sucks, and I don't like it, and I want to change it, but I can't. Oh,
I am a big proponent of like very simple language and not like, yeah, this is 16th century porn. Comes now defendant New York Marine.
I get it. I understand it, but it's like I get stuck with it. Like I have to. Oh, it sucks.
Yeah, no, it always annoys me. And I taught a couple of law school classes. Guess what on? Firearms and weapons law, which was
go figure. Surprise, surprise.
And when I did sort of an initial writing thing, I went back and I was like, I'm not taking marks away from you guys, but don't do this to me in practice. Like, if I'm up against you ever on a file, please don't send me writing like this. Just send me simple stuff. And judges appreciate the heck out of it. So, or at least in my area, they do. So, answering paragraph 1, New York Marine submits that the allegation requires no response. All of that could be cut. Just the allegation requires no response under federal rules of civil procedure, but to the extent
Oh, I agree with that part. But like the very beginning, I have to like do but the rest of that, what you said there, the answering paragraph 3, that's all bullshit.
Yeah. Anytime you basically have to say, I submit X, just say it. Everybody knows that you're submitting it. Like, that's why your mouth is moving. It's not like you're talking just to exercise your jaw. So that is always how lawyers manage to undercut their own, arguments and so forth. So they deny that Travelers has been damaged. Now, this is something that really bothers law students whenever you start looking at civil law, because when law students start getting into civil law and they start looking at statements of defense, the hair on the back of their necks goes up, because defense statements are always kind of obnoxious. And this is also why journalists love them, because journalists get to make some puff piece about, so-and-so denies X. It's like, of course they do. Statements of defense, when you're responding to a claim, typically they sort of go like this. First of all, it didn't happen. Second of all, if it did happen, it was nobody's fault. Third, if it was somebody's fault, it wasn't us. Fourth, if it was our fault, well, it was also somebody else's fault. And fifth, if it was our fault, then we are immune because of legislation. And sixth, if we're not immune because of legislation, well, a wizard did it, and blame the wizard.
Wizard. Runkle, don't blame yourself. Don't blame yourself, Great White Wizard.
You just want to basically put every possible way that you should be absolved of responsibility in those. And so they end up sounding kind of, they end up sounding kind of jerkish to the public. Like when you see,
it's a 2-year-old. It's a 2-year-old when you catch them doing something bad.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't me. I didn't do it. Well, I clearly saw you do it. Well, maybe you didn't see me do it. No, I actually saw you with my eyes. Well, it wasn't me. It was my brother. And you're like, well, I saw you do it. Well, maybe you saw my brother do it, and then you thought you saw me. It's everything you could imagine.
Yeah, and you don't want to leave anything like that, because otherwise you just, you don't want to leave a defense there. The plaintiff doth protest too much, thereby tearing asunder the fabric of society.
Yeah, Joe. That's great.
Answering paragraph 2, they admit the allegations therein. This is also something that you see where they're just like, and whenever you look at what allegations were admitted, it's always something like resides in the state of California, or, is a corporation, because they don't admit anything else. But they will admit things like we exist and we are in a
What?
particular place.
And look how many quotations they put in each individual paragraph. This is an answer. You either say, I admit or I deny this. You
Yeah.
don't have to re-quote every freaking sentence that's in each paragraph.
As an articling student, I did a whole bunch of statements of defense, and a lot of them were like, we admit paragraphs 1, 3, and 7 and deny all other paragraphs individually and together.
Done.
Done. Off it goes. It is like a postage stamp, which basically says, nuh-uh. And I mean, that's a perfectly acceptable statement of defense. Nuh-uh, didn't happen. And if you need to, you could put in things like, maybe you can allege, something else. So, something like contributory negligence or something along those lines but usually you don't need to. All right. So they're going to go through and deny everything. Is there anything interesting in all these denials, or is it just, no, they admit jurisdiction. They admit jurisdiction. They admit venue. Admit paragraph 7, which is probably something like candy exists. Rob looks like an adorable garden gnome today.
Oh, thank you.
I think it's
that's
the
a
Duke.
thank you.
Please make Rob some leather item that creatively incorporates the statement. I lumber don't jiggle jiggle it folds. Oh.
Okay, that was good. That was good. Nice, good shot there. Nice one across the bow. Love it.
Oh, and travelers' unclean hands with respect to the lack of cooperation. So they are gonna get into a real fist fight over this.
Like I said, this is gonna be so much fun.
Where's the dollar amounts? I want the dollar amounts.
I want to see the money.
Show me the money.
Oh. Why is every answer this fucking long?
This is PR. They think that this is going to end up being what is it? They think that they're going to end up having this covered in the media. So that's why they're doing this. I don't think that the media is going to be that interested in the insurance aspects, but these insurance companies, I think, do. Because otherwise, why would you put this? Unless they're just bad writers, which is also possible. Why do you get a lawyer only if it's a criminal case? In a civil case, you don't. Canada has similar laws. My country, I'm privileged. So legal aid or the like, basically they have limited money. So they defend or deal with cases that are of particular importance to the individual. And so where I am, that's criminal cases and family law. But they're not going to come protect your money. They're going to, protect your rights to your kids, because kids are super important. And they're going to, help keep you out of jail. Those are sort of the important things.
Yeah. In the U.S., it's the state is the only actor that can deprive you of your life and liberty. Therefore, the state, when it's enforcing protections against the incarceration of your life or taking away of your liberty, when you cannot afford an attorney, they provide one for you. But for your property interests, that's civil disputes between one person and another. That is two people. The state stays out of it. They don't pay for anything.
Somebody had a good point of, so do I think Elaine honestly thinks she will get this through? It's really hard to read Elaine at this point. At one point, I thought she was probably a pretty good lawyer getting dragged down. Now I'm just wondering if she is completely breathing Amber's smoke. And
what's the TikTok drugs, so many drugs.
Well, I just think she's bought into Amber's kind of little world there. And I am really concerned because sometimes that happens to lawyers and it can sometimes end very badly for them. Can I not control F for a dollar symbol, or is this doc not searchable? Thank you for that suggestion, because yes, I was being very dumb. I love it. Two of my faves, although my TV is super bright, and I thought Rob was wearing a Hulk Hogan head wrap for a bit there. There's your Halloween costume. Unclean hands, are they going for Shakespearean tragedy? This is actually legal terms. Unclean hands is something you may actually have to plead. And so what unclean hands means is basically the court is not going to reward you for your own bad actions. So let's say I, fraudulently rob a car that I purport to be a brand new Porsche, and it's actually a Honda Civic with like a body kit. And it's actually also rusting out and is worth a grand total of $25, but he's paid me a substantial chunk. And then Rob goes and posts that I did this. Like, he posts this. Even if he goes too far on what he responds, the court is probably not going to entertain my claims very well, because I'm coming at this with unclean hands, because I'm a fraudster at that point, right? And so they're going to be like, oh, your reputation is harmed by your own fraud. A, you'd have truth as a defense, but B, you'd have, unclean hands. There's probably better examples than that. But yeah, trying to read Elaine is like trying to mix the Fall of the House of Usher with Green Eggs and Ham. Green Eggs and Ham is actually really impressive writing when you look at it.
Did you actually know that I have a secret about that book? Did you know that there is one multisyllabic word in that entire book?
What is
that? It was a challenge from Dr. Seuss's writer. So Dr. Seuss's editor challenged him and said, I bet you cannot make a book using single syllable words. And there is a single multisyllabic word in that book. So maybe the chat can get it. I want to see this, the chat. I want to see you guys guess. What's the multisyllabic word in Green Eggs and Ham? Tell me what it is.
All right. That's, because I thought it was all single syllable, and thereby one of the most impressive pieces of writing ever. So Ron, what do you think of my neck of the woods, San Juan Islands?
Oh, San Juan Islands are great. My family's had a house up there since 1950s, and I go up there every single summer. I freaking love the Pacific Northwest. It's one of my favorite places in the whole wide world, and it's a place where you can go, get away, and escape, and you can't hear or see anything except for a beautiful night sky.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Oh, the chat got it. Wait, Runkle, don't read the chat yet. I do not eat them here or there. I will not eat them
anywhere.
It's the only word. It was a challenge from his editor.
And he lost on that particular
No,
point?
he did that intentionally. It was a snub.
Okay. So Travelers has incurred more than $5 million in defense fees. Now, this is where things get real interesting, because we heard the figure of $6 million in trial. And we heard that figure from Amber herself. And we heard that from Elaine Bredehoft. Now, this, I think, raises some real interesting questions, because if Amber is saying, like, if she's testifying under oath that the reason why she couldn't donate the money instead of pledging the money, even though they're the same thing somehow, if they're the same thing, how are you able to do one and not able to do the other if they're the same? Yeah, obviously they're not the same thing. So, but she said it was because she had to pay all this money for her legal expenses. Well, if Travelers Insurance has paid them, then what's that money doing? Other than maybe sitting in a nice bank account waiting for Johnny Depp to come after it. Or probably, I don't know, buried in a hole like Pablo Escobar was with his money. I mean, I don't know what they're... But that seems to me like it may not be a completely honest statement, but also Elaine made that same point. And, if I remember, if you watch the streams there, I was like, holy crap, did she actually just put that on record? How much she spent on her on defense? Because normally that's a privileged thing. Normally you don't just drop how much your client spent. And in fact, not only is it privileged, but it's also it can be prejudicial. It's not something you just put to a jury, because the jury really can't draw any conclusions from that. Unless it's something that's in evidence and, so forth. So I guess it was in evidence, but if they knew it was wrong, and how would they not know it if their bills would have been sent to the insurance company? Oh. Yeah. So do I think Elaine will get sanctioned? I don't. I think she maybe should. But yeah, Judge A's got to be getting annoyed at some of these filings. I think that's part of why she won't get sanctioned. Because if they start in sanctions proceedings, then they're buying themselves, like Judge A is buying herself another few weeks
Yeah,
of dealing with
it's
it.
more hearings and more that she has to deal with this BS.
Like, just as a little bit of a parable here, there was a guy back where I grew up in Vancouver, and this guy was a giant ass. And I loaned him $20, and he vanished. And this was the best $20 I had spent till that point. Because it got him to vanish because he didn't want to see me, and I would ask him for the $20. Now, I could have chased this guy down, but then I would have had to deal with him more, which was exactly what I didn't want to do. Loaning him the $20 was perfect. For Judge Ascarati, not pursuing sanctions is getting to not deal with this anymore, probably. So I could certainly see, and T in Tennessee with the answer there. But yeah, I could certainly see her not pursuing sanctions, even if she thinks they're justified, because she doesn't want this on her docket. Like, she wants to go back to doing stuff that, like, murders and, you know.
I don't know if she wants to do those, but she would like to get her docket cleared up. She has a job, and her job is to move that docket and decide cases no one wants to decide. She needs to get this one gone, passed, done, move on to the other things that she doesn't want to deal with.
Yeah, and I mean, yeah, wants to is the wrong word. Like, it's not a situation where it's like, oh boy, this is what I really, oh boy, I get to deal with a murder. It's like, she is a Marine, and she just wants to see things running right again. And this case has got to be like a big old, a big old grumpy in your bed that really prevents you from getting the stuff done that you meant to do.
Or sleeping.
And, yeah. So, she just wants this gone, I'm pretty sure. See, breaking news, Elaine Bredhoff claims Stockholm Syndrome. I mean, it's not quite Stockholm Syndrome, but I sort of wonder if she isn't, like, kind of just buying too much into what her client is saying. Question, Rob, do you think she'll ever get charged with puffery? I assume that's perjury by Judge E. I mean, how many is too many? Elaine kept hammering under oath with Johnny Depp's witnesses.
Judge Ascarati can't charge anything. Judge Ascarati is a judge. She is an impartial jurist. So someone would have to bring those charges. The state will not bring those charges just because the resources themselves are so thin. We've talked about it a million times. I'm sorry to all the chat that wants her to be charged. Not going to happen in the U.S. Yeah,
and where I am, the judge would not be able to lay charges themselves, but they could suggest charges. But I've seen situations where the judge suggests, hey, maybe perjury should be pursued, and it doesn't get pursued because it's unlikely. And I see, wait, you got to read about how Elaine blew through 2.5 million. And then after the first 2.5 million travelers made Elaine lower her rates, so she knew it was them and not Amber Heard. That's interesting too. Does this mean 1 million was spent on Dr. Spiegel and Hughes? They used the amount to support her lack of pledging rather than keeping it in lemonade. What about the Virginia bar peeps, though? I mean, oh man,
I don't even want to go down that road. We're not going down that road. Look, Elaine Bredhoff is an attorney. She put these things in pleadings. I'm going to trust that there was some foundation somewhere in her mind that allowed her to do that. Sanctions are possibly appropriate, but calling for disbarment or all this other stuff, that's extreme. That's really extreme. And I don't want to go down that road.
I don't think she should be disbarred. But I do think maybe she should have her wrist slapped and, potentially in a way that hurts. Something to say you need to change your behavior. You need to change how you do things. But disbarment is a pretty serious, that's a pretty serious thing, right? And I see Pinky Pink is asking, what do you guys think of Norway? I actually did a semester abroad in Norway. I quite liked it. We were outside the EU, although you guys have the Schengen area, though we have to adapt. And now the Great Britain is out too. Simple, yeah, yes or nay, no in our favor. Do you respect our decision of being out? I mean, I don't know the economics and the politics there, but I like Norway. And I really kind of like the Schengen area aspect of, like, if I wanted to go and see Sweden, I could just get on a plane and didn't have to worry about anything. Basically, it was, they're like, oh, you're within the area, so you can travel freely. It might be cool to have that with the States, although I don't think the U.S. wants that with Canada because they're worried about, stuff being smuggled. I kind of figured that. Thank you. Good night, all. Thank you, T from Tennessee. Always
Okay,
good
so
to chat.
the one person I don't know, like I think sleeps less than me or you or anyone on YouTube might be T in Tennessee. So if T in Tennessee, if you really are going to sleep, I'm going to be so impressed because you somehow end up in every single person's chat and you're the most generous person.
Oh, absolutely.
Amazing.
Great to catch you guys live. Hello from Dubai. Wow, hello from Dubai. That's quite a travel distance there. I see as of February 2021. So where was that in the litigation? That's way before trial. Independent counsel had exhausted the purported fee cap of $2.5 million, but trial remained more than a year away. Okay, that's where it is. Rather than holding independent counsel to the June 2020 agreement of $2.5 million, Travelers entered into a new agreement with independent counsel, pursuant to which it vitiated the original purported cap fee and agreed to continue to pay independent counsel's ongoing fees and costs. On information and belief by way of the new May 18th, 2021 agreement.
Document. We can't see what you're reading because you have to put the document up.
Yes, document.
And while I do that, I have to make a clarification. Secret McSquirrel, yes, you are right. You donate your time in modding all of us. You are also, I don't know when you sleep. By the way, I'm sending you some coffee via your little link. If you can remind me of the link, I have it saved on my phone, but I'm sending you some coffee for the next few weeks. But yes, thank you for all you do as well.
And hey, Runkle. Hi there, Wood Daddy Stack. Love you guys. Yes, I sent some coffee as well there. Runkle, your Teespring link is broken. So Spring is pretty much garbage. I'm probably just going to cancel my thing with them entirely because everything I've ordered from them has been crap. And I don't want to sell crap. I've heard Zazzle is better. I'm going to order one of my own Mess with the Herd shirts just to see. Then I can check it out and see if it's decent. Haha, Rob, I sleep about 3 or 4 hours a night. You're too kind. I appreciate you guys. At this point, this trial have hurt Elaine's career instead of helped.
Yep.
I mean, yeah. Sorry, I'm at the Bar Association, not the bar. Couldn't have fit it in hold. Do they do wrist slapping, or is that with judges? They can do wrist slapping, but I don't think the Bar Association is going to do anything unless somebody files a complaint. I don't know who that would be. So, all right. So, yeah, they had a capped fee, and then they changed the agreement to then pay more. That's really interesting. And as a result, they ended up with more than $5 million.
Ooh, interesting.
I mean, normally when you get a cap fee, that's what you're stuck with. But I'm guessing they probably said, hey, it's not fair if Depp can spend unlimited money and she can only spend $2.5 million. But
copyright Kurt, that's not very nice in the chat. You're mean.
Anyways. Somebody being a jerk.
Oh, that's fine. The chat will handle it. Don't worry about it.
All right. And
yes, you're right. Judge A is handling it intelligently and by the book. She's doing very well. She has done, and yes, Semper Fidelis is a way of life. She lives by that. By the way, in case you did not catch any of the trial, 10 a.m. on the frickin' dot, maybe 10:01, she was on her seat, or 9 when she changed it to 9. That trial moved like a machine. I've never seen a trial move like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's really unlikely that you like, this is such a big trial, right? And the only times I saw them get a slow start was a juror is late. And there's nothing you can do about that, right? Judge A, other than yelling at the jury, can't do anything about that. So, yeah. So Elaine and Amber Heard are both narcissists. I don't know that Elaine is. Different types: cerebral sociopath, somatic, histrionic, CHD tutor. He shouted out Tug. I don't know about Elaine and her sort of mental health and so forth. So You guys are my two favorite law tubers. Say awesome. Rob, I'm loving the crime trials and history. Amazing. Scott Cardinal is he makes that a lot of the, he comes out and he's just, man, that guy needs like a radio show or a TV show. He's kind of shy about showing his face, but
no, I need him to talk to me like I need to get in bed and then I need to have a voice dial to Scott and just say, Scott, can you please talk to me until I fall asleep?
What we should do is try to license a whole bunch of what is it, just stories to fall asleep to.
Oh yeah, it's just awesome.
Oh, somebody out there, if somebody watching this is doing books on tape or whatever,
hire that man.
Hire that man to do readings. I would
immediately hire that man. I will buy any audiobook that he is narrating, period, end of story, till the end of time. Any day.
If I write a book ever and I'm at a point where they're like, hey, we like your book enough that we're going to, make an audio book, who should we get to do it? And I'm like, this guy. I got the guy already.
Yep.
Yeah. And that's over myself. People will be like, oh, they'd pay more to hear the author reading. And I'm like, no.
Don't care. Nope. I don't care. My voice is not nearly as good as Scott Cardinal's. And the thing is, Scott would probably be like, hey, Rob, you should probably go to Word here. But do it. Change the book. Don't care. I would just hear you say it.
Wow. There is...
This is an answer? This is an answer?
This is a counterclaim.
Oh, okay.
So Travelers was aware that the independent counsel consistently refused to cooperate or facilitate the participation of New York Marines appointed counsel, the Cameron McAvoy film. So all of this bullshit, all of this fighting was going on at the same time as the Depp trial. We just weren't seeing it because this is the torpedoes, the submarines are shooting at each other while the battleships are fighting. This is what's going on where nobody else can, sort of under things. And I see somebody suggesting I go back to paragraph 21. That's Grace J, who has gone through this in some detail. So I'm going to trust that.
No, but T in Tennessee is still chatting. I thought you said you were going to sleep.
So, hey, Wood Daddy Stack. And I see, can I do Grace Marks on the my trial of the century turn? We're going to sort of rotate through. My next one, I want to do Dudley and Stevens because it is a tale of cannibalism on the high seas and murder and all sorts of chaos. So, and it's a very famous case here in Canada. So, yeah. So in or about August 2020, the Charleston Brederhoff firm entered into a stipulation to continue trial without 1, including Cameron McAvoy in discussions surrounding the stipulation, 2, notifying Cameron McAvoy that such a stipulation was contemplated, or 3, including Cameron McAvoy on the stipulation or related proofs of service, with the result that Cameron McAvoy learned of the stipulation and the court's resulting order through the court's publicly available docket. Now,
which stipulation with the... Wait, what was... So paragraph 20, what's the stipulation they're talking about?
I don't know, but... so that's
stipulation.
Whoops, that's why that's not working. Come on, where is this? Oh, these are the only things. So I guess it's just a stipulation to continue trial.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's... Yeah. Joy Stoffer, Amazon offers to pay people to record books for audio options. My coworkers and a few others told me I need to do that. Let me know if I need to join in sometime. Hey, there's lots of good voices out there, but yeah, it's we'll have to. And we see whose channel is hosting Trials of the Century this week. Rob, Ian, or you? It's not me.
It's Scott. Scott's this week. Or yeah, sorry, Scott. Sorry, Scott is this week, then is me, and then is Runkle. And we're going to try and get it on Twitter way in advance so that you guys can plan on where to be. And I'll try to notify people as we go up to it. But this week is Scott. The week after this is me. And then the week after that is Runkle.
Yeah. And I see, did Rottenborn quit? Haven't heard much about him. His name is on the most recent filings that they put in. So he didn't quit. He's still on the file. but he is the smartest bear in that room because he is keeping his head down. Like, he's the guy not doing all those press, tours and all of that. So, yeah. Somebody says, I assume you're doing physical therapy with him. Right now, he's supposed to rest. So right now, he is doing nothing, but he'll have healing regime as we go. He's having a rough time. Wow, this is really interesting how they're... So this is a real fight over, like, who's spending the money. But, I mean, the fascinating bit about this is that it really means that there is no way that Bredehoft could have been unaware of the fact that this money was being paid by the insurance company. Like, this is... I feel like that's sketchy. And I see somebody saying, is it possible to make the document slightly larger?
Oh, that's larger. That's larger.
There we go. Now we can see it a little bigger here.
And yeah, Scott, if you're still in the chat, you need to read classic literature at night for live streams. People would love that.
Oh yeah, but just put that on to sort of fall asleep to. And I don't mean fall asleep in the sense of bored. I mean in the sense of soothed.
Yes.
Yeah, he just really... he's got a way of just kind of taking stress out of you with his voice. It's a weird...
It's awesome.
And so as a result of the inequitable conduct of travelers, they withdrew from the defense. And they have to date paid $600,000, which is way more than my house is worth. Like, this is
gonna get so good. Do you realize how good this is gonna get? Like, this litigation.
Oh, they're gonna end up leaking so much information on them. Yeah, it's gonna be real interesting on all of that. So, and they're saying that in failing to require that independent counsel cooperate with and facilitate their full and active participation in the defense, failing to provide copies and so forth amounts to unclean hands, which should bar them from recovering any amounts. Under California law, where an insurer properly offers a defense through appointed counsel and the insured refuses the defense, neither the insured nor other insurers which fund the insured's defense may recover from the non-participating insurer for sums incurred to defend and/or indemnify the insured. Oh, this is gonna be a drag-out fight on who owes what and why, and this is lovely.
Every bit of tea that exists is going to be spilled. Every single bit of tea, like all of it, is coming out in this trial.
I mean, there's going to be all sorts of aspects, but I'm going to need to set up a Pacer account.
How do you not have a Pacer account? Just use mine.
I live in Canada.
I didn't say that out loud. On live stream. Runkle, don't use my Pacer account for free.
I can set. How much could Pacer cost?
It can be kind of expensive, but they did make it free recently, so we're good.
So New York Marine wants a judgment in its favor for all their money back, $600,000. And somebody says, I feel bad for Rottenborn dragged into this. I don't. Rottenborn chose to get into it. He's going
to come out fine, guys. He is not the one who's on these pleadings.
Yeah, he's going to be just fine. So, for a declaration that did not owe any duty to provide independent counsel, didn't breach any duty, entitled to reimbursement of any additional amounts, that it be awarded its costs. And I mean, you always ask for your costs. They don't always get them, but and then amended answer to complaint. So there's going to be more stuff.
To the chat, a prayer for relief is just nomenclature for my requested relief is. A prayer is to ask, like literally translated from Old Latin, to pray for is to ask for. You are asking for this relief. So that's why that's included in there.
Yeah, they're not literally like calling on high.
Yeah, they're not praying. They are saying, please give me this.
And I see people reporting that Tug got swatted tonight.
Lovely.
Well, I guess I got to worry about that. Maybe I should chat with my local police force and warn them, hey, this could happen. So, yeah. And I see Rottenborn gave an improper closing. So, yeah, I mean, there was still stuff there. Oh, and somebody's asking for your astrological sign.
No. I don't even know what it is.
Yeah, that's a good good response. So the whole bunch of admits. This is how you do a response.
Yeah.
Admits.
Boom. Boom.
Admits.
Boom.
Admits. Denies. Admits. Denies. Like.
Yeah, that's clean. I like this. Whoever wrote this did good.
Yeah. Like you don't need to muddle things up. Denies. Like that's
done.
And I would have even just put this as denies the allegations in paragraphs 32 through 35.
And even look at 36. Admits the allegations in paragraph 30, blah, blah, blah. The parties, i.e. the parties disagree on material issues and there's an actual justice book controversy. Yeah, boom. Like say it quick, boom, done. Yeah,
it's yeah, and I see people saying I should really talk to my local police force about that. Yes, I should, because I also am a firearm owner, and the last thing I need is for them to show up feeling real jumpy on stuff. So
it'll make me nervous.
Yeah. So I may have to yeah. I've seen a cruise YouTuber older man swatted. Yeah, that's it is an unfortunate thing about the internet there. Yeah, I really like this writing of just denies. This is how you write a defense. They praise for an order and judgment saying, awarding them nothing on their counterclaim, granting Traveler all the relief it seeks in its complaint, awarding Travelers its costs, and awarding Travelers all other relief. That is much better writing. Now there's a protective order. Why is there a protective order?
That's a protective order for documents. They want documents non-disclosed. That's standard.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. This is a documentary as opposed to a personal.
And to the chat, to the chat. Yes, you can get a Pacer account. Any person can get a Pacer account. Public citizens, you have access to all the federal court documents. It might cost you like a couple cents per page, but you have access to download everything you want to on federal court system.
Does anyone actually think Elaine was unaware? At this point, she couldn't possibly be unaware of this. Sheer quantity of perjury and misconduct in the whole shebang was wild. I mean, Amber was just crazy on that. Also, Capone got done on tax evasion. Sometimes it is the little things. Yep. So, yeah, I see people saying we don't need you to end up like Katanko. Yeah. Did you hear about that one, Rob?
Mm-mm. Was that the one 2 years ago where the content creator got swatted and got
not
alive?
This was a gunsmith, and the police got a search warrant, and they acted. There's various things that they normally do when they're executing a search warrant that they didn't do, including like normally they normally for these things they try to get. Like when there's a gun owner involved, they normally try to sort of catch them outside of their house. So they'll just wait and watch. When the guy gets into his car to drive off, they pull him over a block away, right? This time they didn't do that. They watched the guy drive home, walk into his workshop where he's a gunsmith, and then they raided that and they shot him. So, I mean, they've already said, oh, we're absolving ourselves of all responsibility. We're fine. And I'm like, but this guy didn't have to die. Like, it is quite clear from how they went about it that they could have not had that happen. And yeah. So good cause statement. Okay. So they're just laying out the dispute here. Basically, they're just going to say that it's going to, okay, so they're protecting all the attorney-client privilege and work product doctrine and so forth. So we won't get to see a lot of the interesting stuff, it looks like.
We will. If it's a subject of dispute, we'll see some of it.
Yeah, we'll just have to.
Plus, these guys are going to say there's a protective order that's going to be entered, but there's going to be leaks left, right, and center. It's going to be ridiculous.
So they both agreed to the protective order. So there's a protective order that we'd have to buy on Pacer. How much does that cost? I'm guessing quite a bit.
It's not going to give you anything either. It's going to say nothing is privileged gets disclosed.
For good cause shown, the grants the ex parte application for a stay of action pending conclusion, but then it's listed as denied. I don't understand this one. So why do they have a stay that they list? So it's denied.
Maybe it was a proposed order that got denied or something. What is that?
Order on ex parte application. The only thing I can think of is that
they submitted that along with their ex parte motion, and this is clarifying that this was denied.
Yeah.
Okay.
So court is basically saying this has got to proceed. So wow. I mean, there's some interesting elements to this. Like, I think the conflict of interest argument has some potential aspect, but it's going to be real interesting to see what happened on all of this. But I mean, I think the most fascinating aspect is the $6 million. And because we've heard that the $6 million was paid by Amber for her defense. And if that didn't happen, then oof. I mean, as you said, Judge A probably won't do anything about it, but
I'm not going to guarantee that. I'm going to say that it's a very strong, not likely, but the more that this stuff keeps going, and you know, Andrea Burkhart said this as well, and she and I are kind of the same mind. It's like, what's going to be the straw? Because there's going to be a straw.
Yeah,
like Elaine's going to like make one motion or one filing or one sentence in a motion. It's going to be the straw. That's just Judge A is going to be like, sanction.
Well, and the problem is that once you get her moving, then she may come at you with an entire shopping list of your bullshit and just be like, so I wasn't going to do anything on this. Wasn't going to do anything on that. Wasn't going to do anything on the other. But now it's all on the docket, you know, because you did that one more thing. Everything's on the list, and I want to hear from you. You might want to prepare writing and
toothbrush.
Yep. Toothbrush is, yeah, for the people who don't sort of get that reference, that is basically indicating that you might walk into the courthouse and you might be invited to spend the night in cells.
Yep.
And then maybe some more nights.
Yep. And to have a judge like say, you know, Miss Morton, would you like to bring, do you want time to get your toothbrush? No, judge. No, we're fine.
Yeah, it doesn't happen a lot, but every once in a while a lawyer manages to, you know, what is it? Yeah, every once in a while judges manage to sort of get into, or every once in a while lawyers manage to get themselves into that level of shit. And there was one lawyer in my neck of the woods who the judge basically said, we're putting the trial off to this afternoon and you're not going back to your car. You get to spend, you get to spend the time in cells, and we're going to see if you're sufficiently apologetic when you come back out. And was very apologetic.
And to the chat, this can be a good thing and a bad thing. Like the one judge that I've ever been in front of where I was seriously at risk for spending some time a little bit behind the wall there was a judge that I told did not have the authority to do something with regard to my client. And he looked at me and says, Mr. Morton, you better have some good authority for that. And it was one of the most tense moments because I was telling the judge, if I do this, you cannot do this. Like, you don't have the power. And when you tell a judge they don't have the power, they like to say, oh no, I have the power. And probably one of the most tense exchanges I've ever had with a judge. And I really thought I was going to have to get a toothbrush. But that judge 2 years later referred me one of his former law clerks, like to help that law clerk with somebody. And that judge I've always had the utmost respect for. And every time I'm in his courtroom, it is the most collegial and wonderful relationship that has come to kind of pass between attorney and judge. Because sometimes it's through that hottest fire that those bonds get formed. So sometimes it's good, but sometimes it's not good. With Elaine, when we're talking about this, not good. But sometimes you have to push judges too.
I've had a similar moment of like, you have to fight back with the judge, and I didn't get a referral, but I did get, this was a judge who I ended up dealing with like about a month later. And he said, Mr. Runkle, do you remember our argument? I was like, I put it past me, sir. Like, let's not. And he was like, no. I did some more case research or case law research, and you were right. So I just thought you'd want to know. And I was like, okay, cool. We're good though, right?
Yep.
Because you just, and that was a moment where the judge wanted to do a thing. And I was just going, I know you want to do it. And my client probably deserves it, but you don't have the authority, sir.
Mm-hmm.
And so eventually he was just like, okay, if I don't have the authority, sure, but we're going to put this over. And it got put over, and then I got a notification just like, you don't have to show up. Like, we put it over 2 weeks, and then I just got you're not required to attend sort of email, which I was like, okay, yeah, he asked somebody, I'm right. But then later it was, he actually did give me the you were right story, and I was like, okay, cool. So yeah, it's kind of a terrifying thing, right? Because you're staring down somebody who has the potential to throw you in jail, and with a very non-reviewable power. Like, the contempt power is one that's really hard to do anything about. So yeah. The other thing that's just really exceptional on this one is, like, this tells us again that Amber just, it looks like she told another sort of story in court, and we would never have found out if her insurers didn't get into a fight with each other. We would never have known.
That's why I'm waiting for this. Like, I'm waiting for all of this tea to get spilled, and it will. It's going to be wonderful.
Well, and I mean, the other thing is, let's say she does get her mistrial. All of this would become admissible on that new trial.
Oh, that is a devious thought.
All of this would be entered in on that new trial. Like, do you think it's getting better, Amber? Do you think that your trial chances are getting better, or do you think they're getting worse?
So much worse. Because the thing is, they can now bring in the $6 million statement and then say it was inconsistent with something that was factual. Oh, magic.
Yep. Like, just, yeah. At this point, I don't see why she doesn't, like, tactically speaking, if it wasn't for I don't think she can. Like, I don't think that she's mentally able to take the smart move, which is to take the loss at this point. And yeah, I see what a tangled web we weave when first we practice to deceive. Thought you'd get told off or investigated or temporarily suspended, not lawyer jail. I mean, lawyer jail is actual jail. Like, if you get held in contempt, they'll throw you in actual cells, and the guy in the next cell or in the same cell might be somebody in there for, stomping some old woman nearly to death. Now, as a lawyer, they'll probably usually give you the credit of, like, your own cell or, something where you're going to be a little more protected, because the judge would be super pissed if you got your teeth kicked in while you were being held on contempt. The same judge who threw you in on contempt would be very pissed about that. But, you may still have the person, like the guy in the cell next to you might be there, with mental health issues and might spend the entire night telling you how he's going to, use your intestines as a clothesline.
Don't say that. Don't say that. That's horrible.
I mean, yeah. Love you watching you both. Who knew Amber would keep giving topics? Yeah, I thought this was over, and I was kind of glad for it because there's all sorts of other things to talk about, but she won't stop. So I believe Karma will take care of putting Elaine in front of Judge A for next 10 cases. That is entirely possible. And Grace is saying I missed a super chat, so I'm going to try to find that if I can. Sorry, folks. I try to do my best on the super chats, but I will tell you, this chat just scrolls. So, please look at paragraphs 7, 12, 16, and 17 of the counterclaim. All right. So Grace J has been excellent on the hot tips on this one. So let's see if we can bring that up.
And Ian, I'm gonna have to sign off here in a second. It's 11:21, and I have a 10 a.m. hearing.
Yeah, no, thank you very much for popping in here. But yeah, always wonderful to have you on, and you help keep my attention deficit sort of in line. And yeah, so
hey, chat. I'm gonna leave him in your hands. Please take good care of him. Please, if you don't mind, just do me a favor and navigate and draw his attention. So, but I will see you, Runkle, probably this week sometime. So until then, thank you very much for having me on. And this is awesome. I can't wait to see where we go from here with this suit. And I can't wait to watch the coverage. So
see you. And yeah, I see. Are you in your business suit in lawyer jail? Depends how long you stay. If you're just held in the initial stage, you'd be in your business suit. Later, they'd have you change. Oh my God, Uncle Runkle and Law and /or Lumber. Yeah. I see, gentlemen. Thank you for a very good evening and educational chat. Early range day tomorrow. Good night. Range days are always a good days. Narcissists never stop. I.e. Amber Turd. Yeah, I don't think she can stop. I think if she was smart, she was, she'd be cutting her losses and just going like, okay, I screwed up. I can play the PR game, but we can move on. All right. So let me just see if this will bring it up here. And I've lost that list of paragraphs. Grace, if you can give me that list of paragraphs again, that would be fantastic. And thank you very much. It's been, you've been a huge help here. Travelers issued homeowners insurance policy to the mutually insured and promised a defense to any lawsuit seeking damages. Issued commercial general liability insurance policy, whatever. That's the pro site policy. And it extends to defamation. Oh, and I got to skip to the counterclaim. Does the counterclaim have separate numbering? So ProSite's reservation of rights letter, like Traveler's reservation of rights letter, indicated that indemnity coverage could be denied based on the insured's knowledge and /or intent with respect to the alleged events giving rise to the underlying action. In other words, the outcome of the coverage issues raised by ProSite could be controlled by counsel first retained by the insurer for defense of the claim. So that's saucy. Basically, they could say that they could decide how this, when an insurer reserves its rights on a given issue and the outcome of that coverage issue can be controlled by counsel first retained by the insurer, a conflict of interest may exist. And then they set out that there is a conflict of interest here. And 16 and 17. Travelers refused to collaborate or participate in ProSite's scheme and has repeatedly demanded that ProSite pay its share of the mutually insured independent defense counsel fees and costs, and instead appointed defense counsel of its choice, and repeatedly refused demands by the mutually insured and by Travelers to participate in the defense with counsel of the mutually insured's closing. So, yeah. I see, love hearing all this conversation about the legal system. And filing earlier, 7/8/12 is Marine versus Amber. And the lawyer you know just dropped a new vid about the policy. I should check that out because I think he does more insurance. I don't do insurance aspects. I do, so I might have been looking at the wrong. Was I looking at the right document there? Counterclaim. Why is the... I don't know. This is a PDF viewer. It just... I'm not getting into a fight about fonts. Your $2 chat's not showing the header. Did I miss a chat? I'm sorry. I'm trying to keep track of the chats here, but can we pull up Tug's Twitter to cover the SWAT? Yes, we can in a moment here. I'm just trying to see here. So we did 16 and 17 on this one. The amounts. And then 6 and 7. Yeah, we already looked at those ones. Cameron McAvoy was already representing the insured in that litigation, having been previously retained. Okay. Interesting. I see the fonts, couch, and the kerning debate. All right, so yeah, we're going to have to wait to see some additional information on this. Right now, we've got their initial filings. This is frustrating, but let's. I kind of want to see what is going on with Tug. Just so we're just going to pull up Tug's Twitter here just so we can see, because I am concerned if he's okay. All right, let's pull this up here. So I see here, guess who got a door knock on the cops from a couple hours ago? So, yep. Amber Heard's team takes credit for trying to swat him. Platinum Grill, here I come. Amber Heard and her wackos don't want me making videos and money, but can't stop acting so stupid to monetize Simpson weirdos for fun. So it looks like Tug is fine. I think Tug is Tug has got to be okay for him to be posting all this stuff. But wow, that is it's concerning because I'm on their crap list too, although perhaps not to the same degree. Tug has been there from the outset. He's been a real Tug was on this when I thought it was going to be legally boring, because I thought initially I thought Johnny Depp had no chance. Like, I thought that this was going to be a boring trial, because it was like, how would how could he possibly win? And somebody's saying, I love that you reply to normal too and not only super chats. I mean, I try to. It's just there's so many chats, I can't reply to everybody, but I try to sort of keep an eye on things just to sort of look for what's going on. And yeah, I see police went to his home. Yeah, it sounds like he got swatted. So, and I should mod Grace J so she can chat without slow mode. Yes, that actually sounds like an excellent plan. Let's see if I can find Grace J in the chat. Grace, can you toss me a message here, just so I can? And Cindy was saying, could someone explain why Tug got swatted? And basically, it looks like it's because he upset the Heard fans. So, what is it? All right. So I've got Grace J. Please don't abuse the power there, but And the redneck preppy, all right, Mr. Runkle, a combo of suffering from COVID and working tomorrow means it's bedtime. Thanks for the illuminating entertainment as always. I'm actually working on a sort of a video on prepper stuff. I don't know if that's the same sort of notion there. Somebody's saying I missed it. Who got swatted? Tug, apparently. And my understanding is that it's not the first time. And, you know, Rakita's been swatted. Tim Pool has been swatted. Lots of people get swatted, so I got to sort of check on that. Maybe I'll have maybe once I get off the channel, give the police a call and just be like, let's see. So, somebody says, need to invite more colleagues onto your streams. You've been on theirs to help their content. I bring people on. Actually, just until now, I owe Uncivil an apology. But yeah, I sort of bring people on, but I mean, you bring people on sort of who mesh with you, and you know, and so forth. And a lot of people just don't. It's tough. We've all got our own streams, so yeah. So Uncivil, I think, is going hard on his own stream. So yeah. All right. So there are some other things I wanted to talk about here. One of the things I wanted to talk about is what is it? One of the things I wanted to chat about here was the assassination of former Prime Minister. Oh, people are saying that they don't know what swatting is. Swatting is basically calling in a fake complaint to the police to try to get the police to storm the house. And often they do so in a sort of a way that gets the police to think that there's something very urgent going on. People have been killed in swatting, swatting moments. So, I see somebody here noting, I agree with Rackets. Swatting is attempted murder. It should absolutely be looked at because, I mean, it's pretty serious as to that. So, I mean, it's tough there. So, what is it? Yeah, and I see the other thing is a doggo got killed by swatting. I would be very upset if if either of my pups got hurt. So that yeah. And I see people noting that I've streamed from Rob's house. Yes, and we've streamed together on many occasions here. Will the Law Tube help Tug if he needs help? I mean, I would. I'm in the wrong country. He needs somebody probably who's an American who's entitled to practice in his area. The town in Tennessee where he is, I would call small, so it is even more dangerous. Yes. So, yeah. So talking about this assassination there, one of the interesting things is I'm seeing a lot of coverage talking about this as a 3D printed gun. 3D printed gun. And I'm like, did you see the pictures of it? Because it is made of pipe and like trash and stuff gathered out of, like this thing looks like the old line from, the first Iron Man movie. He made this in a cave, except it actually looks like something you made in a cave and not something like Tony Stark's, arc reactor, which just looks, this thing was made out of stuff you get from the hardware store. So every news article that you've seen that says that this was a 3D printed gun is completely lying to you. They're either too lazy to do the homework or they're too dumb to know the difference, or they're just, not paying attention. I see somebody saying, does it look like the picture in my background? No, it looks like it's like a bunch of hardware store pipe together. And I'm not going to give details on how you'd make one because YouTube gets real salty about that. We're not going to do that. So, and I see SWAT protection collabs with others who know your personal information to call when you can't. Yep. Japan, from what I understand, has very serious very serious gun control, to the extent that from what I understand, they are able to search places based on like the notion that they think you have a gun, as opposed to like the standards that are used here, where you've got to have a fair bit of evidence. I mean, ultimately, you see a lot of stuff saying, oh, if we ban firearms, then we won't have any. The thing is that people can make guns out of just about anything, and the other thing is that this looks like a hobbyist making something. When I see organized crime involved in making firearms, organized crime has a much better ability to do stuff, to the extent that they can produce things that are basically just as good as like commercial things. And the reason for that is, you've heard the old adage that like the internet is a series of tubes. That one dumb politician said that. Well, a gun really is, a series of tubes, or, a tube. So, with a blockage at the end and some way to ignite things. So long as people can get access to powder, and, so long at which, you got to keep in mind, there's all sorts of places that this is normally used in other places. And, that's something that I don't think you're going to be able to sort of shut down, unless you shut down things like construction. You're just not going to be able to prevent people from building these things. But yeah, and I see somebody in the chat, Leia, noting Japan is an island. USA has 2 countries on our border, and if drugs can get smuggled in, then illegal weapons can too. Yeah, the problem is that if you're trying to say we're going to stop organized crime, which is what gangs are, you can if you can smuggle a brick of cocaine in, you can smuggle a gun in. And in fact, the gun is a lot easier overall, because it doesn't necessarily have a particular smell, so long as it just smells like metal. So like a gun sniffing dog might be able to smell gun oil, or it might be able to smell fired powder, but it can't smell just metal. So yeah. And I see somebody noting that he was in the Japan self-defense force, so he wasn't without some training. Yeah. And I mean, it's just not, they're not that complicated. So I see people noting, we're going to get to zero fatalities if we ban firearms. I can tell you, I see improvised firearms on the street used by criminals, fairly often. People make these things all the time. Captain Kirk versus the Gorn, that was a gun, I guess. Yes, and you can make one much better with the stuff at Home Depot. Yeah, it's just a thing there. The upside of my teasing Runkle is I do try and help him out in my own cranky way. I appreciate it. And I see somebody was asking, do I miss Virginia? I liked Virginia. Virginia was quite nice. I really enjoyed hanging out with Rob. Rob is a wonderful person. People were just being really, really kind and really, really decent. And yeah, it was kind of a good time. In some weird way, I kind of also missed the line. Like, the line itself was this weird, crazy experience, but I met some good people in there. I met Scott Cardinal there, and I'm really glad for that. I met Rob outside of the line, but I was glad for that. I met Dusty there. Dusty is fantastic. So yeah, it's yeah. So I mean, right now I'm in the process of applying for my firearm business license, and if I get my firearm business license, then I can do some videos that I can't do right now, in terms of stuff like, I could probably do a different video talking about this kind of improvised aspect of things, but YouTube has big things on not showing the process about how these things are made. And so if I was going to do anything like that, it would have to be on locals or something like that. But in terms of just discussing like what it takes to make one, that would be sort of an aspect there. That would be something I could do. Ian and Rob, a good project is a wooden sword with a leather sheath. I mean, I have probably too many actual swords to have much time for the wooden ones. Yeah, I see some more people asking about Potter. Potter's doing okay. He's healing up. Let me just see if I can get you guys a picture, if I can figure out where I set my cell phone here. So just trying to... let me just see if I can get the... get that pulled up here. Sorry, it's just going to take me a little second, but I want to see if I can show you a picture of the Potter. He is such a good boy and such a... he is such a trooper. And I can't express how much... how happy I am to have the guy. So let me just see if I can send this to myself, and then I'll see if I can bring it up. Somebody was saying, I bet you don't miss the... what do you call it? I bet you don't miss the sidewalk sleepovers. Yes. Yeah. I see somebody saying, what do you call it? Least troubling sword guy I've seen in a while. Sometimes that's yellow flag. I mean, I ended up buying a bunch of these because I'm friends with a guy who makes swords. And, you know, when you have friends who are craftsmen who sell stuff, you kind of want to support, you know, what they do. And, you know, so that's one aspect of that. And the other thing is they're just kind of neat. I'm not like full mall ninja or anything like that. So somebody says, so worry if I'm taking you back to a topic you've addressed. I'm curious to know how old the imposter juror looked to you and Rob. We don't actually know which one is the imposter juror. It's probably the older guy, juror number 6. I pegged him at like, you know, 50 or 60. So yeah. And somebody says, thanks for explaining prepper. Yes, prepared for troubles and believing in rights to be properly armed. I mean, the thing is that I take issue with a number of the sort of preppers out there because a bunch of them are more about having lots of guns and less about being actually prepared for problems. I am less about being, you know, sort of yeah, I'm less about being you know, armed as I am about like being prepared for things. So, and I see, do I still talk to the one, the old Amber fan? No, I didn't get her contact information. If she reached out, I'd talk to her. Absolutely. But I didn't get her contact information. So yeah, I wasn't trying to get, you know, content for anything or anything like that. So, so do I recommend any websites for learning about gun laws? Me, but also the Criminal Code of Canada and the Firearms Act of Canada if you're looking for Canadian stuff. Canada does not allow concealed carry or open carry or anything like that. I've actually posted, it's SGT Blades is the swordsmith. So, yep. And I see Picky Pink saying, I hate guns from the bottom of my heart, not my house, ever, ever. And that's perfectly fine. I mean, I don't have any issue with that. Just like, I don't have a problem with people saying, I don't want this. It's just when they start wanting to tell me what I can and can't do. So, all right, let's see if I can pull up the Potter picture here. Let me just see, share screen. All right, here we go. This is a picture of Potter post-surgery. And so you can, the first thing you can see is he is a great big, he's got a great big derpy grin on his face. He is a great big happy dog. He is just, you know, and you might say, oh, well, of course he's got a big grin. He is medicated to the nines, but he's actually, you know, he's fairly awake. He's, you know, cheerful. He's just always been a really happy dog. So I see somebody saying, what's Potter look like? He looks like this, like this dog right here. and you can see they shaved all of his leg. Like, they left a little bit of fur on his paw there, but like his legs are just shaved. He just looks absolutely silly. Um, it's kind of funny there. I'm a little worried about. It looks like there's a bunch of sort of. I suspect that's just bruising that kind of meandered down like with gravity, but I'm still a little worried about that. Um, it's concerning. Pollyanna, thank you for the excellent content and new knowledge. So glad I found your channel and have had the chance to learn more from you about guns. Yes, we went to the range and it was good fun. So yes, and I see. Why did Potter have surgery? His dog ACL. Um, I forget what they call that, but what is it? He blew one out, and the other one was almost blown out, like just basically hanging on by a thread. And so they had to. They said that they were going to do both because they didn't want. I mean, if they did it one at a time, he'd have to go through this whole process twice, and B, and then he has to get general anesthetic twice, and there's always a risk when you have general anesthetic that they don't make it. And so you want to cut that down. And the other thing is, what is it? If he had one repaired and the other one was injured, or the other one was still sort of hanging on just by a thread, he was going to what is it? He was probably going to tear the other one doing that. So, yeah. But I mean, right now he's feeling a lot better. He really likes this inflatable cone thing rather than the like collar, like the neck cone. And I mean, unfortunately, he can still lick, but we've kept him, like we've told him that he can't do it, and he's been actually really good about that. So he's been really just a sweetheart. The downside is he wants to do all the things. Like, he wants to go downstairs and he wants to go upstairs and he wants to run around, and we have to be sitting there. And I see it's the cranial cruciate ligament in dogs. Thank you. And horse welfare. I'm guessing you know what you're talking about there. Let's see, Jill Downey. Thank you for joining me. And they say can be caused from injury, but can also just happen. Yeah, I think it just I think this is just a thing that happened. But he says, what's that plate doing on his neck? Keeping him from trying to lick his leg or trying to, that's sort of the goal there. So, and I see the inflatable cone is better, but licking is bad. He'll pull out his stitches. Yeah, we've been keeping him from doing that. So, he's just a really good boy, and we're just trying to make sure that that he doesn't injure himself in the meantime. The really sad thing is he's hurting, right? I've had surgery. It hurts. It sucks. You feel miserable afterwards. I had my jaw surgery and I just felt like absolute crap afterwards. And I had my appendix out and I felt better after the appendix, believe it or not. The appendix was much easier, but you still feel like crap, right? And you're still like, I can't do the things I want to do and whatever else. So he, what is it? And he normally likes to sleep not in the bed, but he likes to sleep near us, right? He wants to be close by. He wants to know that we're there. And so when we go to sleep, he wants to be nearby, but he can't navigate the stairs for that. So we've been having to take sort of shifts to sleep upstairs or, next to the dog. So, yeah. And the other thing is there were a bunch of people saying, they were offering to help with costs. We're okay. We had insurance. And so, we had to eat some deductible cost, but we didn't have to pay the full cost of the surgery. Most of that was covered by insurance. He's covered. So, yeah, I've been sleeping with him most nights, not like just in a mattress next to him. He's like 10 feet away or, a little closer sometimes, but yeah. But he's just, there nearby, just being, what do you call it? Being a friendly little guy, and just, he's happy to be that we're there. And thank you for the super sticker. I was Horse Welfare is saying they cut through bone for the TPLO surgery, so it's like healing from a fracture. Yeah, that's rough. I see Give That Good Dog Some Treats. He's been getting treats. Rub antiperspirant around the site. I don't know if antiperspirant would be good for the injury. I guess I could rub it near it, but not on the site. Stops them from licking because it tastes bad. Also, what breed is he? He's so sweet. He is part Saint Bernard, but he's kind of a mutt. He's just a, he's all sorts of things. And yeah, I see people saying Barnes is saying that the juror is female. I mean, that's possible, but they actually used male pronouns for that juror in their initial motion. Now, it's possible that they sort of intentionally did something else, but I don't know. I can't say for certain. Barnes tends to have good information, but I don't know what the source of it is and so forth. Dogs release oxytocin and other chemicals when you pet them, and you release them too, so that's a great way to help with pain. Just pet him. You'll both feel better. He's been getting lots of pats. He's such a good boy. And see, Potter is such a handsome boy. He must be protected at all costs. So glad you and your wife love him so much. Yes, he is an absolute wonderful pup. Joloy, thank you for the 5 quid there. And see there, I DM'd the NYM insurance policy. You can check it out whenever. I think Trigos is also doing a video on it. Yes, I will check it out. And I'll try not to abuse the new mod power. Yes, yeah. And I see Lab had the same surgery, 5K. Yeah, we didn't have to pay 5K. Sue saying that is blood pooling. You need to take him to the vet. We called in and they said basically that they didn't need to see him unless it was an emergency, and that they didn't think that was an emergency on that. But we'll have to see on that. I see a question here. If C21 passes, what will happen to tubular mags? Well, C21 isn't the big one on that. There's some other ones, and but they do want to propose something to ban any magazine that holds more than 5 rounds, which would ban a ton of magazines on the market. They might actually end up banning just about every magazine in Canada near or nearabouts. Samantha Steinus, did you DNA test him? I did with my mutts. We had him DNA tested. It's basically Saint Bernard and and a mix of other stuff. For the Chicken for Potter Fund. Oh, yes, that's a good idea. We should, yeah. Jen H says, call Holistic Vent and rent laser, get a second opinion. Need to make sure that's not infection. Yeah, I kind of want to, see there. I should also mod Scott Cardinal. Yes, Scott, are you still in the chat here? If so, toss a message and I will, I will mod you there. So, yeah, it's what he's saying about the vet. Send a pic if you haven't already. To the vet, yeah, I should. Question: did Miss Runkle get the necklace? It's in progress. That is being ordered, and once that arrives, if she'll let me, I'll show you guys what that is. So, go to Dr. Paul. I'm not sure what that is. So, see, sometimes blood will leak under the skin. It shows up under skin as long as there's no swelling nor hot to the touch. It's not an issue. It doesn't seem tender. It doesn't seem it doesn't seem like there's much of an issue there. I'm worried about him. Like I'm concerned, and it's hard not to be concerned. And he's such a cheerful pup in some ways that it can be really hard to tell. It can be hard to tell, like, if he's okay, right? Because he's so friendly. He's not like getting upset or anything like that. So, yeah. Anyway, I guess that's kind of the pup date. I am worried about the guy. I kind of want to go, go give the pup some hugs. So, somebody's saying I should do a live stream with him. I can't really bring a camera to where he is right now, so that's not really possible, and I can't get him to stand up to to be on camera because we're not doing that. So yeah, once he's healthy and healed, I'll try to put a what is it? I will try to put a GoPro on him and and let him what do you call it? Run through. And I see House Hippo says that they just listened to the verdict footage again, where they say yes to the verdict, and juror 15 is male. Yep. So yeah. Mark the bruising to monitor if it's getting bigger or shrinking. That's a good thought. Potter could have his own pupcast. Yeah, we'll have to see there. Yeah, I hate that dogs can't tell us what's wrong. Yeah, it's like, use your words. And I see dogs don't show happiness by grinning, watches energy levels. Yeah, I mean, I know that a dog, but he always kind of has this happy sort of expression. He's just always a very cheerful kind of dog. And yeah, and I mean, we've actually taught dogs to sort of do this weird smile thing. We've sort of bred that into them. Wolves won't do that, but yeah. Pledge, I mean, a donation for the Chicken for Potter Fund. We'll have to get him some chicken, just something to keep him happy and pleasant and so forth. So he says, I think it's the juror who was interviewed. I don't know. I mean, we don't know which juror number it was. Amber and Elaine seem like they're into payback, kind of. And requests to put a picture or two on the YouTube community page. I kind of want to show the... I kind of want to post up more pictures of, Potter as, sort of happy, like a happy dog, not like a, not a dog who's being all miserable, right? Because those are the memories I like of the Potter. So let me see if I can switch this over here to show you a better shot of Potter here. Yeah. Better Potter view. There we go. See, that's a cheerful Potter. This was Potter. I was trying to sleep in, and he thought he had notions about that. So he had notions that I should be paying attention to him that day. And you know what? He was not wrong. He was not at all wrong about that. He was just wanted to snuggle. And somebody was asking for pictures of the other dog. Let me see if I can find a picture of Zora handy. Oh wait, but I've got one of my favorite Potter pictures here. Let me show you one of my favorite Potter pictures here. And thank you for the $50 as treats for Potter, chicken for Potter. So we got these 2 dog bones, one for each dog, because we basically were going and saying, hey, we're going to get, that way they won't fight over who gets the treat. It'll be one treat for each dog. Anyway, that lasted all of 2 minutes because Potter ended up deciding that he wanted both, and Zora didn't, had no objection to that. So we've got, Potter sitting there having adopted both of them. So yeah, Potter's a good pup. And I got some Zora as a puppy shots here. Let's just see here. Yep, that's a good one. All right. Somebody said, why name Potter? When we got him, he had a little lightning bolt on his head. And, so it seemed fitting. But that went away as he got older, so it didn't work out. So this is Zora and a little bit of Potter. You can see sort of Potter's tail floof just to the side. But that is Zora when she was a very young pup. She's got a stick that's as big as she is. And yeah, she just... she is very photogenic. She sort of always seems to know when there's a camera, and just manages to sort of pose for them. Zora is named after a Supreme Court decision. So, yeah. All right. So, yeah, we'll sort of wind things up here unless there's sort of last chance to ask questions in the chat. If not, I will go and I think Potter could do the hug. I see Zora being nice to Potter. Zora is actually being an absolute sweetheart. She's concerned, but she's not pestering him or worrying him or bothering him or anything like that. She's just being a sweet little sister. So, yeah. All right. Yeah. Thank you for joining me, and I will have to what is it? I'm gonna have to sort of play around with the intro video and all of that stuff, and yeah. So somebody says, would I be worried if I put in a motion like the Juror 15 one? I would not put in a Juror 15 like a motion like this. Yeah. And is the Canadian Supreme Court legally binding like the US? Yes, they are the highest court in the land. They are binding across the country. Am I excited about an upcoming House of Dragons Game of Thrones spinoff? I didn't watch Game of Thrones. I watched like 2 episodes and decided it wasn't for me. Have LawTube review your Supreme Court video. That is a fun idea. I will bring some people on at some point and they can watch me at the Supreme Court, and I will try to be quiet they can sort of have fun with that. Maybe I'll try to get that set up. All right. Yeah. Anyway, thank you guys all for joining me. I really do appreciate it. It's wonderful fun as always. And we'll sort of talk again soon. I got some videos to put out. So I'm not sure when the next live stream will be, but at least in about 3 weeks, I'm going to be on with Rob and Scott Cardinal to do another of the sort of great trials of history there. So, yeah. Anyway, thank you guys for watching, and see you guys next time.